He's got a Porky Pig tramp stamp. It's just the pigtail. It's pretty amazing.
I had a lot of tequila that night, and
welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dyson, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
hello,
And Danae Hughes.
Hi.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. You cannot see this because this is a podcast, but Danae was spinning in her chair as she was weeing.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
how do you do that with were you holding your cord up?
Yes, I was.
Because if I do it, I'm.
You didn't complete your twirl, Jonathan. Try again.
We are excited. We've got a lot of fun in store for you. We are totally later on going to record a segment with Mystery Writer 2.
Which we will totally pretend like you didn't know is coming later on.
So anyhow, excited to introduce you to the second of two mystery writers who have been writing on some of the Sins videos. But that will happen down the line when we hit a review for the movie that they wrote on. But of course, we're going to do all the usual fun. So let's get right into it. Kick it off with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, how we felt about the stuff we are sinning in general. We'll start with commercial sins, Hardees / Carl's Jr., depending on where you live in the country, did a Paris Hilton commercial. So, yeah, Jeremy wrote all about it with a commercial sins video.
I forgot how weird these commercials were.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Because this was like the Hardees thing forever. They always got like supermodels and eventually probably Instagram people and stuff. And
there was a big up.
Do you find it sexy, Aaron, to see a woman in a midriff biting down on a burger with ketchup coming?
Listen, hey, yeah, sure, why not? I
just curious.
There definitely was an uproar. I remember the uproar about this. There was an uproar in the Puritan sense where people were like, oh, I can't believe that, that kind of thing. And then there was also an uproar from the other side that was more I don't get it. This is dumb. Nobody liked this commercial. I don't remember anybody being like, oh, that's hilarious or oh, that's amazing or, whatever.
And not to mention, it's kind of you had the people that, before the Kardashians, Paris Hilton got a lot, and still probably does, unfortunately, get a lot of hate. I've kind of become a Paris defender. Not that I ever couldn't stand her.
Sure.
But I've really gotten, I've heard too many really not good stories about her from people that have worked with her. Mm-hmm. And if you go back and listen to our interview with Darren Lynn Bousman from a year or so ago, he talks about working with her on Repo the Genetic Opera. It's a beautiful story. The stuff she did for him. And so I don't know. I always find the hate kind of weird, but I think that was probably a lot of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I do tend to stand up for cultural pariahs in some way. Obviously, if it's not something they've obviously done to kind of earn the dislike or whatever. But Paris is one of those who reality stars in general. It's we can make fun of the culture that leads to them. But that doesn't mean they're still not a human being with value as a human being. You know what I mean? There's a line to draw there. So I'm with you. I do remember this commercial coming out, though. Danae, do you remember this commercial, when it was popular, hearing about it, seeing about it, any of that kind of stuff?
Not really. No. But I have a lot of thoughts. I think if this commercial is pushing the bounds of, sexuality and sex and meat and cars and suggestive poses, I think that's what happens on television and media all the time is people try to figure out how to get attention. And certainly our curiosity about body form and shape and things like that is a way for people to turn their heads and have thoughts, right? So you turn your head, you have thoughts, you see her with a burger and other things like the car washing scenario. And your brain is just processing a lot of information at once. and you don't forget it. And so I can understand pushing the boundaries. And I think, listen, we're watching Rick and Morty's new season, okay? There is some fucking insane bullshit that they put up on the screen for people to watch. The difference, I think, is that people choose to watch a show, Rick and Morty, whereas a commercial just kind of pops in inadvertently and unexpectedly in between content that you're just seeing on television. And the networks have decided that this commercial is appropriate in certain formats, and you didn't really have a choice to click and watch it. You're just forced to watch it. I think that's probably why it feels more controversial, is because you kind of have it shoved down your throat, so to speak. But then I feel like most people want what they've just seen shoved down their throat in various forms. Now, let's just back up a bit. This is Paris's decision to do something like this. She's a full-grown woman. She's not just a reality star. She's an heiress. So this woman has had a very different life than anyone you will ever meet. Should you meet her, none of us will. I mean, she does listen to the show. She is on the list of incredibly popular and very famous people who listen to our podcast. So hi, Paris. It's good to see you. But that was her choice, and that was Hardy/Carl's choice, and people can react how they want to react, and they can get it banned in all the ways that they want to get it banned, and all of these things.
And I think it was definitely banned there for a while.
It's hard to figure out what's being sold in this commercial,
Sex,
though, right?
right?
I mean, is it
Sex and
no?
food.
But I'm saying, is it a burger? Is it a car that's being, because the car gets just about as much attention as the burger.
But that's
or is it her outfit that's being sold? I don't know. Is it clothing? I have no idea.
I think that's the best defense of the commercial, though, is that it's satire, is that it well understands what it's doing, and it's making a point about doing it to excess, in order to make a point about advertising and, what is the meat? Is the meat actually the burger, or is Paris Hilton the meat? Or is the car the meat?
I'm pretty sure we all know she's the meat.
Right.
I think you've nailed that, though. I think you've nailed it, Aaron. I think it's because, like, for people that would actually, and I mean, whatever turns you on. But for people that would be like, the sex aspect of it would appeal to them. They're going to get those people, the people that would find this funny, satire, whatever you want to call it, it will appeal to them, So I think they're trying to kind of do a double thing here, but I don't think it works.
I love
I don't
that
necessarily
we're
either,
doing commercial sins for this reason. Like, this is the perfect commercial to sin. That and the Got Milk commercial last time, I think I'm really enjoying the commercial sins. They're short, they're succinct, we're making fun of commercialism, but in this case, we get to do a lot of things, and this was a delight to watch. I don't know. Is sex sells? It's just part of what I feel like we shouldn't be surprised by it. I like that the trend of what is sexy is shifting more from being scantily clad females, with their legs spread open and all this stuff. Whatever they say in the peeing, as we saw in the commercial.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. I'm glad that beauty is shifting into different elements, and that we're seeing more beauty, because back, I think, when this commercial was popular, it certainly was the incredibly skinny women. And so this would be a commercial that a young person might look at and say, that's beauty. And not a lot of people can look like Paris. And I think that the standards of beauty are changing. And I don't know that this commercial would be made now. I don't. They would make the satire.
They would make the satire even more obvious if they made it now.
Yeah. If that was like part of the intention, and not that like, and we can always just say it was a joke. If this goes sour, we'll just say it was part of the plan. That aside, I feel like this commercial could exist in certain platforms and in certain streaming options. Absolutely. Definitely on porn sites. But I don't know. I just think that the conversation about beauty is changing, and this was part of that conversation. So I think you have to have commercials like this to have change. In some ways. Those are my thoughts.
When you said it'd be a parody, now I was just thinking, now it would be like you'd see from behind and maybe like below or something, and then when the person turned around, it would be like David Spade with a wig on or something.
It would be something like that. Yeah. It would be a drag queen, and it would be beautiful.
That would actually be really cool.
Put Simone Like, come on, put Simone right there. Holy shit, people would lose their fucking minds and it would be amazing.
It has been a long time since I've...
Oh, can you imagine the outrage? That'd be crazy.
It has been a long time since I've said this, so I'll just say it quickly and we'll move on. But, we also have a culture that continues to wrestle with its connection of the human body to sexuality. And, it's one of those interesting things where it came through, saw it all over my Twitter feed, a couple days ago that it was like nudism day or whatever. And it was like, it was all about the sex. And it's like, well, the nude body isn't just about sex. It's just interesting how our culture continues to wrestle with this idea that,
What was that? Was it one of your kids' birthdays?
It's my sister's birthday. Yeah.
Sister's birthday.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I just remember you were making a joke about that. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah. So anyhow, I'll move us into the sins. I had to mention soap fingers. Just a nice, beautiful. That was one
I wrote down. Oh, did you want me to read Jeremy's thoughts on this?
Sure, I didn't realize he had. Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Please tell us what Jeremy had to say about this.
I haven't read it yet. The Paris Hilton's Hardees Carl's Jr. commercial does not give a single damn about women. We are selling sex and cars and meat, but mostly sex. The customer here is men and men only. I don't know that I agree with that. Preferably lonely men with lots of pent-up sex drive. Yeah. Hardees / Carl's Jr. had a lot of commercials like this. Paris Hilton is not the only one. And at the time, it felt like kind of as far as things could ever go in terms of sex and commercials. It felt very, pardon the pun, naked in its goals. Of course, if you look at this with a sin hat on, then you start really fearing for that fucking burger man. Yeah, that's what we're concerned about when we're watching this. I'm watching this like, is she gonna have a nip slip here? And how do you squat? It's like oh, what was that movie with the pole and the spinning J-Lo's butt?
Hustlers.
That's the one. It's like that all over again. I'm watching it like.
Yeah, what are you using
anything?
To make sure nothing comes
Where
out
is
of that?
anything? Okay,
yeah.
anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Yeah. Get that shit away from soap and water. He's talking about the burger, not her. Just a reminder, I went on a bunny trail, not Jeremy. Why can't you shoot a commercial that has her washing a car and then separately eating a burger and you cut between them? Why does the burger need to be in such danger? And who buys a burger, drives all the way out to Bumfuck County Airship Hangar where I parked my muscle car, puts on a tiny swimsuit, and proceeds to combine the acts of washing the car and eating a really cold burger? Fucking aliens, that's who. I have never bought food because of my dick.
I think that's a fair. I can back. Yeah, I don't know that I have either.
My dick has limited say over my purchases. It can contribute when the matter at hand involves any of the following. Here's a list for us all: movies, music, condoms, lube, Coke Zero, leather, and I did once buy a golf club because looking at it made me aroused. Otherwise, dick has no say. Everything about this era of Hardees Jr.'s marketing was hyper masculine, thick burgers because they are aren't for pussies. Look how big and messy it is. You want it, right? Are you a pussy? I don't really blame Paris Hilton for exploiting her fame or her looks. I do blame her for the situation in the Middle East, though, and smog.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Do either of you like Hardees, by the way?
No.
Yes.
Me either.
I like.
That was
they
quick.
had. I haven't been. I mean, I haven't been to many fast food places in a long time. Because if I'm doing fast food, it's almost always Taco Bell. That's just me. But
no,
they had a great breakfast sandwich there for a while that I was into.
Okay.
So yeah.
Breakfast, yes, I have eaten breakfast there, but I'm not. Especially once they trained over to the we've got real beef. Everything just comes out burnt.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like it just tastes burnt to me. So I kind of quit eating there. But I will say, for those of you, I know we're in a Hardees area. I know Carl's Jr. is the
West Coast.
West Coast.
Yeah.
I assume they're the same though.
Yeah, same company, same food.
Maybe the breakfasts are different. I don't know.
No, I think it's all the same. I think it's just different name. Let's see. We already mentioned the peeing joke, but I also wanted to mention the Billy Idol's Rock the Cradle of Love video. Saw this commercial and curled up into a ball of chastity and shame. Such a great pull. Loved it very much. Jonathan, what about you?
For starters, Paris Hilton never sets foot inside a garage. I just like when he was doing his list of like things that make no sense in this. And I just liked the simplicity of the sin ass. Like, there's just a quick shot and the sin was just ass. And I'm trying to figure out, like, is that a sin? But I don't know. It was funny regardless.
Yeah. Danae?
I really hate massive burgers. I don't usually eat burgers in general, but like when they're so big that you can't have the perfect bite, I like to have a bite that has a little bit of everything in it, which is why I really enjoy salads, because you have complete control over like what you're poking around on and how to have like everything you want in the bite. So I really liked the sin about the burger being so large, because I find that to be sinful.
I was impressed she could bite into
She's
it.
not.
Like,
there's no way.
Yeah.
She's just like,
because they do a quick cut, right? It's not, you don't see her
just
eyes
like
or
pushing
anything.
it. Yeah, she's just like kissing it or something on the back end.
Well, and she wouldn't, because she'd have to bite it like 47 times. And I'm sure that burger was disgusting.
Whatever.
Or what, it probably wasn't even food, because they do that with the
That's
lighting
exactly
and everything.
what
They
I
have
was
to.
just gonna say is I remember watching how food commercial videos are made.
Yeah.
And learning that milk is usually glue, so that it looks thick and gloopy and kind of like.
And like ice cream is something else because it'll melt.
Yeah, with the lighting and
the
things.
lights. Yeah.
So God knows what she's kissing in that is what we're saying. I really enjoyed the all you've done is give my stomach more control over my boner. Oh no, my body than my boner, which I loved. Just to switch over from like I'm looking at food now, so thanks for that.
Right.
And the turn of so she's like washing her body and it's very sexual, and the sin is this is just unnecessary. I realize now why this commercial was banned in some countries and it's hard to find online in decent resolution. Just turning it on its head that we're making fun of this commercial, but also it is sexy.
Yeah, Jeremy didn't mention it. I feel like this was the commercial where he kind of had to work a little bit to find it to send it, and it was like, but it was totally worth it. Like whatever he did.
Yeah, yeah, it's great stuff. Great stuff.
Fun.
Moving on to TV sins.
Speaking of Rick and Morty, my God.
Rick and Morty is here, and both sins from Jonathan's super excited.
I'm sorry. You just
Rick and Morty. New season of Rick and Morty.
I did not get a lot of sleep last night.
Yeah, me either.
I'm
what did you do? I stayed up until 3 a.m.
The dog, my brother-in-law's dog that we're watching, just decided it stormed a little bit last night. She gets very scared, and so it was just I had to go to the living room with her, so I didn't wake my wife up, and then so I slept on a couch.
Dude, you should have just come online and played video games with me.
I should have.
I got 9 hours of sleep. All right, let's move. I just had to. Everybody had to get their sleep stories in.
I had a 5-hour power nap.
We did both the first episode, Mort, Dinner, Rick, Andre, and the second episode, Mortyplicity, this week. The first one was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and I writing on Mort, Dinner, Rick, Andre.
Dotkins.
Correct. This was a Watzer script. So yeah,
What do you think of this first episode? Because
it's clear to me that the creators of Rick and Morty were like, let's just take down all the barriers.
But it doesn't really show itself to be the case entirely in the first episode. It kind of felt to me like having watched. Okay, I'm curious what parts I'm forgetting, but having watched now all of them and seeing where this is going, it seems like this is kindergarten. To me.
I mean,
I don't
the
feel
whole
like,
main
I
character is all about, like his whole thing is pelvic thrusts to, create.
Okay, pelvic thrusts.
That was
I'm
hilarious,
fine
by the way.
That's not like insane to me. What's insane to me is what happens in like the most recent episode, for example, which I don't know if we're talking about spoilers with Rick and Morty, so.
I haven't watched past episode 2 yet, so I don't know where it goes. But like at least these first 2 episodes, well, I kind of have to. Maybe,
Don't do it.
maybe. Am I allowed to say
it.
that? I'll just guess things that happen.
I can give you a few words if you want.
anyway.
Do you want a few words? We've orifices, orgies, incest.
But this show has dealt with sex.
It's done all that stuff before.
Yeah,
It's just
I mean, there's that one of the first episodes is, I think that's first season, where Morty gets the robot pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Robot pregnant is one thing. I can go along with robot. I can go along with horse pregnancy also. Something to consider.
I just remember
for this season.
Aaron last week asking me how old I thought Summer was supposed to be, and I'm like, "What is going
It's a
on
lot,
in
guys.
this season?"
It's a lot. Literally,
well,
it's
not just Summer. I mean, Morty is
Yeah.
explicitly 14, and
to me,
it's
this
just
seems like the episode season. This new season seems to me like a centered around, and then maybe I'm wrong about this, but centered around kind of Morty coming into his sexuality, because it seems like every episode
feel like this whole show's been about
but
that.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I haven't paid attention to it before. Maybe it's more obvious
I think
now.
you let
I
it
don't
go
know.
pretty quickly because that stuff
I
has
do.
been there for a while. But what I am saying is they are going, well, let's just completely take down the barriers and just. I think what maybe this is how it feels different to you is it's just like. It's nonstop. It's just like it's not just a joke here or a joke there. It's just like
that makes
the
sense.
whole
That
plot
makes
is
sense.
about it this time, or
Yeah,
which again
the
has happened too. But
that
I
is
don't
true.
know.
So, like, let's say that it was like a little sprinkle in episode
Mm-hmm.
1. It's the entire cake in episode
Mm-hmm.
3 and 4 or whatever, you know?
That makes sense.
And that's the thing that's
Stephen
just like,
King.
okay. So we're going to dedicate an entire, and we'll get there because we're sending them all, blah, 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 blah. But this one didn't seem that way. This one was kind of, to me, more of an adventure where you have Morty going through a time portal, and that was a really interesting kind of, I kind of liked that, where this sort of storyline where he's just going for wine, but every time he goes in for wine, there's a, society that he keeps fucking with somehow that turns itself into wanting to kill him, and all of the iterations of that society and how they advance and things like that. Yeah, we can kind of sin the timeline and the inconsistencies of how much time has passed, but I love what they did with that. It felt very adventurous and thoughtful, and I was excited to go back to the portal. Whereas when we're into the orgy episode, I'm like, I just fucking want this to end, And so the difference to me was like, oh, I'm kind of having fun in this episode, and I didn't know, and this was like the first one. I thought the Nemesis character was really fun too, like just the way that the voice actor was emulating and gesticulating. Thank you. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought this episode was great.
Me
I
too.
wasn't as huge of a fan of the second half of season 4. Like, it was fine. I mean, there's always something funny, but like this episode, I was like, the first time through, I don't think I wrote a sin because I was just laughing so much, and the stuff with Morty going to what he called Narnia.
Yeah.
That was my favorite
loved that part.
Which I'm not even sure, like, what was the A and what was the B story in this one, honestly.
That's the other thing, too, is they seem to kind of even it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I really feel like Morty, and this, again, I'm probably just forgetting a whole bunch of stuff, and, you guys are obviously echoing to me that this is stuff that's been happening before.
No, I
but
think
it
you're
seems
onto
to me
something.
also that Morty is kind of more confident about who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this kind of as he talks to his mom in following episodes, and even how he talks to Rick. There's a particular moment whenever he goes off with a woman and he goes to quote unquote check in with his grandpa and just chucks a shirt at him and is like, he said I can go, and just like goes off on his own. And I feel like he's kind of moving from codependent into independent in a way. So I don't know. I thought I was going to enjoy that, but then we just get.
But regardless, this episode's really
I
funny.
liked this episode. I had a good time with this one.
Let's talk a little bit about the sins, shall we? Danae, you didn't write on this one, so you get to start. What are some of your favorites?
Loser.
Let's see. I liked the lead-in was Mr. Nimbus is an ice cold dick killer. Mr. Nimbus is a really interesting character. And the sin is pretty sure Morty already experienced the ice cold dick killer sensation a few minutes ago when Jerry and Beth both declared their love of porn in front of him. Yep. Good point. So in this episode, as we mentioned there, he continues to go into this portal and to retrieve wine that they originally put in there to age. So they put in like really normal wines that it would become really great wine. So they go in and it's like aged. And every time Morty goes back and tries to get a new bottle, more time has passed in the portal. And there's like a shot of everything kind of blowing up. There's this castle blow up scene. And I just love the wine survives this centuries of this, because it shouldn't. We all know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It
then
shouldn't have even survived Rick throwing it in there in the first place.
No.
Like,
yeah. Unless they were, nope, they just shouldn't have. Unless they, nope. Ooh. This is what you do with these shows. Unless they were made of some kind of substance that was incredibly strong. Have they previously established that they have a really strong bottle somewhere in their universe? Now I'm in my sin brain. Then I also, of course, love the reappearance of the hot chocolate skip. As Jessica returns from the portal and is kind of going on and on about her experience of watching the passing of time and what it means, we just threw in another skip there. The hot
Jonathan,
chocolate
what about
skip.
you?
I saw someone in the comments said they couldn't believe we send that part because it was so enthralling. I'm like, okay.
It was funny. I mean, it
was
funny,
It
but
was.
yeah.
Well, and I like
But that's what we do. We send shit. How?
I don't know if I talked about this on the show or if I just talked about it with you guys, but like the Morty and Jessica stuff is actually kind of one of those recurring things that I've latched onto a little bit. Maybe I talked about this last week when we talked about Rick and Morty. So like, I kind of wanted them to, when they didn't work it out in the end, I got a little sad. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I wanted these kids to make it. Like these 14-year-old kids.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I want something good to happen.
Yeah. This was a lot of fun to work on. And then Aaron had the keep it singular. It was talking about there were multiple blade characters. And then Rick says, were we blades in this reality? And then the send is keep it singular. There was only one blade. But I'm also curious, is this something that actually you've seen happen, like where people say blades a lot?
No.
Or
no.
You were just being silly?
Yeah,
I was just curious.
Being silly. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
It
That's
sounded
not
very
allowed.
personal. Like, if I've said this once,
That's right.
I've said it 1,000 times.
That's right. That's exactly how it's supposed to sound. Yeah.
There were, by the way, I don't know why, I went through the comments of this one a little bit, and I mean, no one was being like mean or anything, but man, there were a lot of people like trying to explain away what we were sending, and it's like, yeah, these are jokes, dude. Like most of these.
I wonder if they're people who aren't. I mean, they're
we should
brand
never
new.
be surprised people nitpick a nitpick channel. Like,
Well,
it should
I think
never
with the
surprise
Rick and Morty,
us. But
though, it surprised me a little bit because we also get a lot of. I mean, Rick and Morty videos do well, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's a more positive connection. I see a lot more. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad they're sending Rick and Morty. Like, this is always fun for
where
me.
these
And then
seem
this
more
one
like
just
defensive. Like, actually,
this felt very like, yeah. I mean, it was like, because that Blade one, they were well, there were two, so that's why he called them
It's like,
Blades.
yes, we do understand
I know.
that. We get it. Yeah.
I know. Anyways, I enjoyed being able to stick in the "You've Been Lawyered" clip from How
That
I
was
Met
funny.
Your Mother, because my wife and I say that to each other all the time when we get each other. You've been lawyered, so that was fun. And then the reference to the Justin Bieber thing. I'm trying to remember what happened to get this, but I just like
was,
the terminology. I think they call them Bell Beavers.
yeah, it was like talking
Bull
about
beavers.
the Narnia beaver, and then the
Yeah.
correlation
Yeah, that's what it
between
was.
Narnia and being a
And
believer.
when I was doing the edit, I had to listen to that like 5 times because I swear to God, every time it just sounded like Aaron was saying believer. And then finally I heard the B and I was like, okay, no, he said it right. But it was just such a weird word,
Yeah,
you know? It's, I
believer.
mean, you created the
Believe-
word, so.
believer,
No. Bill Beaver.
believer.
All right. Close enough.
Oh, and then I also liked the Bing Bang Boom time to suck face in regards to Morty giving this long explanation of why he couldn't get the
Seriously.
wine. It's like,
Well, just
what
like
kid would care at that point?
it's just
you know?
like it wasn't your fault. You like, why are you just tell her that the adults wanted the wine and
Get
Move
to
on.
the smooching.
And she clearly wanted to kiss you,
Right,
You know,
just
it's not
exactly.
like,
Think about it. If
she didn't need to be impressed.
if they had just kissed, none of what happens in the next episodes rather would happen the same way.
Yep, it's true.
I know it's sad. Like it's Morty and Jessica are meant to be.
One of my favorite alliterations, the Nimbus Nemesis stuff. That was a lot of
Wow.
fun.
I don't know how you say this stuff.
It's one of my favorite challenges. I love tongue twisters, and
Well,
it's
Danae just gave you a good one. If you haven't narrated that script
Did you
yet, we
narrate
sent
it?
you yesterday.
I did.
How
did
did it
narrate it. I'm not lying. One take.
Good job. I didn't think it was
that's
going to be that
awesome.
hard because it makes
we'll see.
sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. That's the thing. You have to make it make sense when you're saying it. so your brain doesn't trip over
I
itself.
look forward to talking about that sin, but we'll save that.
I could have added
when
about
we
4
talk
other
about
words if I would have given it another like 30 or 45 minutes.
Yeah, like Danae sends us a Slack. It's like there was more I wanted to add to this, but I got to go pick up the pups from the groomer, and I've got to eat lunch, or I will shrivel.
That's right. That's right.
I said that.
I liked accusing Rick of protesting too much, and maybe he wants to believe in Jesus or beavers, one of the two. I thought that was really funny. Then the pelvis ex junkina callback of how you do an ex machina sin, because again, Rick and Morty just taking our sins from us, being like, I'm going to come in here and do a Deus ex machina. So yeah.
Dan Harmon listens to the show, right?
Yes, he's on the
like
list.
it sometimes.
Yeah,
it
he's on the
feels
list.
like it sometimes.
I am 100% sure that is a person that could give two shits about us.
Oh, totally.
Or what we're doing.
No. Super fan of BTS.
I don't think he dislikes us. I don't
He's
think
not
he
a
would
fan of
care either way.
CinemaSins.
He's just
BTS.
Just
for
BTS.
clarity.
There's a difference. The next episode of Rick and Morty was Mortyplicity. I really liked this one as well.
Yeah. I mean, you guys pointed out rightfully. It has no bearing on anything. But I don't know that all these episodes aren't always like continuity.
That's the point.
Theme, but,
That's the point. They know they've. We even said it in the episode that removing the stakes is a feature for them. They don't see it as a bug. They see it as a feature.
Nope.
So
yeah.
But we are supposed to think on that last scene that the actual family was off on an adventure, right? So none of them were real.
who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I think the inclusion of Space Beth is supposed to tell us that in some way, but it's still, it doesn't matter.
I think it's intended to give us that feeling that, oh, okay, there's our people. But also, it just keeps the door open. Like Aaron said, the stakes are just completely gone.
Well, aren't Rick and Morty technically like in a different reality?
Yeah.
like
Correct.
because there's that
It's
one
really
already
early
not the
on.
first family from the first season. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
and in this case, they're clone iterations, and we've seen what was that one, like the big complex that had all the Rick and Mortys. So we know that there's
the Citadel of Ricks,
all of
and
these,
all that stuff,
yeah. There's all these like time variances and things that are happening. It's very low key in a way.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But then here we see the clone version of this, where we just this episode is all about
Danae. Decoy, not clone.
how many ways can we kill our beloved characters. It's really therapy, I think, for the writers, right? I think
And how many different versions of those characters can we create?
and how can we set this up where we're kind of like building the tension that this is the one, and it gave him a chance, I think. Sorry to cut you off. It gave him a chance, I think, to show us the different variations of family function in a playful way, and then immediately kill it because it's not what our family, our Smith family is.
I did just want to throw in, it's obvious by the way we're talking, but this is a Danae and me script. This is a Dice Review script, a Huser script, if you will. But yeah, it's something they know well. When they do interdimensional cable, for instance, it's just a series of, mind
vignettes.
explosions. And that's what this is too. It's just actually with the family this time. It's just a series of, creative little short films.
Being murdered.
Being murdered. Yes, lots of
I love
murder.
I don't think you guys showed this scene or send anything around the scene, but the like marionette versions of them.
Yeah.
And my favorite part was marionette Jerry jumping on the elevators. And I'm sorry, guys, but there's only so much varnish.
Yeah. There's I caught a little clip of the writers talking about this episode and then them having a chance to kind of explore family function. There's also this one scene that I thought was really interesting where they're all standing in the ocean, and it was the idea that at this point in this episode we've seen the family die over and over and over again, because essentially the decoys or the clones realize that they are clones and they go to kill the other clones, and so it turns into a clone war of all versions of the Smith family. At first kind of like stealthily seeking one family out at a time, and then it turns into kind of a massive battle and all this stuff.
It's an Asimov cascade.
It's an Asimov cascade. And there's one of the families, one of the iterations of these decoys that's standing in the ocean just watching the sunset. And it was this interesting picture of what the Smith family would be like if they all cared about each other
except not really.
to spend
when they're in the ocean.
Yeah, to spend their last moments together. You know,
although he does make a dig at Jerry,
of course,
because he's like, who?
But it's like in this interesting way,
also,
like we don't have time to do that, and also that's dumb. And my favorite part, so they were all kind of talking about what they wanted to do to bucket list wise. Some are peas in the ocean, and that's like apparently hers. And then it pops over to Rick, who says, I want to go to a baseball game at every major league.
Jerry,
thank you. Jerry says this, which is something that's on my husband's bucket list.
Oh, it's on a lot of guys' bucket lists. It's on mine.
That's a joke. It is one of the most common bucket list items.
Yeah, it's a cliche for dudes.
And then Rick, slams that because the alien or their nemesis are showing up to kill them anyway. So I thought it was kind of a sweet moment, though. Just how they were all talking to each other just seemed kind of sweet. If you're listening for it, you also hear sometimes Rick will call Beth or Summer sweetie or darling or something. And you're like, wait, that doesn't seem normal. They just pepper in these little kind of things
absolutely.
like that's not normal. And
he calls Morty sweetie at one point
right.
too. But that was another one of my favorite lines of dialogue was in that scene, because Morty's bucket list item, he says, I want to kiss a girl at my weird New Mexico school. Like, I don't know, something about weird New Mexico school just had me dying.
Yeah, this one had a lot of funny moments too, and I would say that at this point in time, I'm all for season 5 of Rick and Morty.
Yeah. I think the first 2 episodes are really great.
Because the orgies haven't happened yet, apparently.
Correct.
And then that just blew
the murder. The murder is happening.
The
not
murder
the
was
orgies.
fine. I don't mind murder, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the scenes that you enjoyed. Jonathan, you did not write on this, so you go first.
I loved they were serving breakfast, and it was just that plate of what I guess was supposed to be eggs. And I just loved, you guys said a few different things like, what is that? But my favorite was a pile of Sunny D slushing, which sounded like the most disgusting thing
gross.
Ever.
Yeah.
And then I just loved the scene that ended with, how much I hate threads and things that are left hanging when you guys were just talking about how this episode doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And then just the simple, I'm trying to think, what were they saying? They were saying like, I don't remember, but it was the D&D conversation.
Oh, yeah. It was split the party. It was about how the family wanted to, like, some go this way and some go this way.
Yeah, because they were making fun of themselves about having, like, and they've done that recently, I've noticed. They talk about B stories a lot more, like, within the plot of the show.
They're very self-aware of what they're doing. Yeah, in that case, they want to split up, and then Rick says, engage in B stories. We'll have to track simultaneously. No, thank you. And then it's D&D conversations.
The whole like dungeon thing with the weird version of them that were like serial killers, and they were all messed up, and they were taking skin from people. And then there's a Rick with his skin peeled off, and then the sin is the peeled skin is already unfresh, is all I'm saying.
So good.
Like we're like going that deep into what, how
it doesn't have a blood
would
supply.
This work?
The skin has
how exactly does this work?
Yeah.
No, that's a fair point that I did not think of.
Yeah. I also like that the narrator blames Jeremy on that knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. That was
funny. At least that's what Jeremy told me. So, yeah. I'll go next. I'm going to start at the end. What a bonus round. As if you had any doubt who would take the time to count every single time they said decoy in this show. Danae Hughes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
77. Your work is treasured and honored.
And ruining
was that
people.
What it was? Was it 77?
Yeah,
67, I think.
I thought it was 77.
Somebody in the comments said, 2 more, and it would have been nice. But so I think it was 67.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. But
well,
yes.
I just know somebody in the comments said that. So I don't, you're thinking from the video. So you're probably right.
Yeah. It's a lot.
69.
It's
dudes.
a lot. It was a lot. It was really it's one of those moments when you hear it and then you decide you're going to do it, and then you remember how many times it's said from your first watch, but you're already doing it, and you realize this might be your greatest contribution to the script because your sins you feel are struggling. This one was harder for me to sin in general, and so I was like, well, at least I'll do the bonus round. And it took me so long of just like
I bet.
every single time. And then, of course, the editor, praise the editor for doing the work. So what you don't know is when I was reviewing the edit, the very first sin on the bonus round wasn't dinged. And so they recounted all of them from the very beginning to make the numbers make sense. So it was a little bit of work. It was a lot of effort. And then, of course, we decided to end it on the Summer saying, say decoy one more time. Ah, fuck you. And it was perfect. It was so fun.
Yeah.
So
loved that. Let's see. The idea that one of the episodes next season will just be a static camera filming the actual table read.
Yes.
It will be so clever.
So clever.
Because this movie has just gotten so over the top with the fourth wall breaking in the meta-ness and the TV show. Yes. Movies everything is movies now. We'll just call them. We'll just call them movies.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to mention, since the show wants to sin itself, we'll let Rick handle it from here at the end, where just the last 3 sins are Rick sinning the show. I had a brief thought while watching this that it would be really interesting to have the entire sins video just be the show sinning itself, because it does it so much. And like the narrator, like in the first couple sins would just be like, look, if you're just going to do this, we'll just let you sin the show and ding it up for you. And then just the rest of the video was just characters saying stuff with the dings. At the end of the day, I don't think that was going to really work or, kind of be pleasing overall. But to be able to finish the video that way, I think was kind of the right way to go with that. But honestly, you can watch these shows and every 5 minutes a character is sinning the show. Like they just, that's what they do. They send themselves. So yeah, it's anyhow.
Maybe Dan Harmon does listen to it. I don't know.
Danae, what about you? Any others you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I wanted to tell on myself because Aaron wrote a couple of sins about the password. So in this episode, Rick walks into a decoy house and says a password out loud, which kind of causes the decoys that they're going to attack and shut down to pause so that they can kind of work it out. I totally missed that the password was boobs and penis completely. And so I'm reading your sins like, what is that? And I didn't put it together until I think my second read. And then I was like, oh my God, Danae. Because
I don't know why they had to give away my passwords for everything, though. That was really... I had to go change them all. It was irritating.
And I try to do it in a subtle way where it's like password is boobs, duh. Like, just kind of throw it in there casually and with and with
you're having like thoughts in your head about this. Like, this is what we do for a living.
I know.
We're counting out decoy and
and then with the penis one, just phrasing it in a way where, like, if you didn't understand that that's what it was, you'd have to think about it.
I had to think
kind of
about
go back.
it.
What is he talking about? Adding more equal signs? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It took me a minute. I got there, and I praise you for seeing that. Well done.
Yeah.
But I did want to say that I enjoyed sitting pendulous balls. We don't have to talk about it. I don't need to know your opinions on it. I just think, in my mind, having pendulous balls does not sound fun. It doesn't. It sounds painful.
You're more in danger that way. Yeah.
It sounds like it would be a nightmare. Pendulous balls. So, although
I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, right? How you write a lot of testicle sins.
me,
yes.
I don't mean. I almost wrote another testicle sin on the orgy episode to come up because there's this drapes just testicles over this bowl, and I was just like, I mean, are you going to leave those out? So, but I decided not to. So maybe I'm learning to rein it in.
Danae has the lesser.
I love the testicle sins.
Danae has
great.
the lesser known psychological affliction of testicular envy. Not one that a lot of people deal with, but
I've just been told that they're very, very. It's important. You have to pay attention to them. Like you can sit on them, and if you have pendulous balls, it just seems like that would be
Yes,
a
you would definitely
nightmare.
be sitting on.
Yes, you are correct.
I just saw it. That's the only one that.
I'm short, so I've never had the issue of accidentally sitting on them, but I have heard that is a possibility, and it does happen. Although I still definitely, even if you don't sit on them, you can still sit weirdly and just things get stuck.
I heard that.
It's not fun.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to move us on from the ball trauma conversation into Beastie Boys Sabotage for music video sins, going old school. Man, I love the Beastie Boys sound. It's just there's something unique and interesting. It's kind of its own thing in the land of hip hop in a lot of ways. So yeah, I dig it.
Especially early on, like those first couple albums, like there was nobody doing anything remotely like that. Like that was like right in the heart of like the, you know, when hip hop was starting, gangster rap was about to become a big thing, and they were over here like, you know, doing like Paul's Boutique, which is an amazing album by the way.
Yeah.
But no, I love this song. Love it.
Barrett said Sabotage is one of the best music videos of all time. It was legendary even in 1994, since every band was making videos where they quote unquote starred in them as themselves. Gotta sell the band, right? Beastie Boys said, fuck that, we're gonna make a cop show. Recruited a young Spike Jonze to direct, grabbed some wigs, fake mustaches, and had a lot of fun. There's a story mentioned in one of the sins about how the band thought the producer, Mario C., was too strict on their music and was up their asses about each track. And that's where the vitriol in this song comes from, and it worked. One of the best tracks off of Ill Communication, which might vie for my favorite album of theirs, and that's Saying Something. Also, I made a mistake in this video that I caught only right before it posted. Homonym does not denote a rhyming word, rather a word that's spelled the same as another, but with different meanings. In other words, like pen. I've always associated that word with rhyme, but it was incorrect, and I deserve to be sentenced to sin jail for at least 6 hours.
There you go. Today, are you a Beastie Boy fan, familiar with them at least? Like, how was the Beastie Boys thing in your they would have been big in your childhood, I think, right? Like,
I have no idea, but
this was probably when they were the biggest, would be probably around this time.
I know this song, like, in that whenever I heard it playing, I'm like, oh yeah, I know this tune, and I kind of had the emotions with it. This is a song that when you hear it, it moves you. Not like to tears. Like you want to get up and move around your space. You don't want to just sit there and listen to it. So it has that get up and move vibe. And it also is one where the person is kind of like scream singing in a way, but not really. Like it's not that's the rage screaming, because there's like this evolution of popularity with a more scream singing style that kind of took off, and I really never got into that. But Beastie Boys is one that it just seems like I can just almost see them on stage just fucking jamming, and you can feel their passion, and I think that's what Barrett is kind of mentioning. I remember that, but I don't remember the band or any, like I couldn't. If you said, hey Janae, what's a Beastie Boys song? I would be like, I don't know. But then hearing this one, I will remember it for another week, and then it'll disappear.
They just look like they're having so much fun. I have to mention though, the scene in Star Trek Beyond where this song is used is one of my all-time favorite scenes in a movie now. Yeah, I mean it's just one of those things, like you're merging Star Trek with, like, which they actually play the song in the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek film with young Kirk or whatever, but then but then they bring it back in the third one, and it's just God, it's amazing. That part where it just hits the oh. Yeah. Love that scene.
I totally agree. It's
really fun whenever you hear a song that's just like it's just magic. And this is a magic song, and it's a style that I don't normally listen to. So it's fun to hear a style that's outside of my norm, that's magic, that you can really appreciate.
Nice. I'll start us off with the Sins. Spiro Agnew really made me laugh. Just the idea that they mentioned Watergate in this song, and the Sin is just Spiro Agnew. It's just, I don't know. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I had that written down. No, that's hilarious.
This will be the last time Bieber is compared to the Beasties. Had to mention that one. The Sin was about them both hanging their heads out of the window during the music video.
Yeah, like the thoughtful pause. Yeah, this is going to be the last time that we compare Beastie Boys to Bieber.
Yeah. And then the narrator trying to talk about how there were more things they could have rhymed with Sabotage, and that was a running sin that I enjoyed. I enjoyed that the last one at the end was Decolletage. It's a great pull and so perfect for the channel.
Ballage.
That was the other one I wanted to mention. The end of the first one. Which
I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
That was on mine too.
It was really funny. And then of course this guy should be saying wee.
Yeah, that was on
But
mine.
the guy being thrown off. Those were some of my favorites. Jonathan, what about you? Anything else?
You mentioned most of them. I did like I'm an old man that likes his tea lukewarm and his hookers meeting him well. I thought that was just a very like a Barrett
very
narrator
Barrett.
thing.
That's
But
Barration.
lukewarm, like I don't like tea at all, but like lukewarm tea, just the thought of that made me just gag. Pointing out the song should be really called Subterfuge. I just love jokes like that. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. And it's probably right.
It's a thinker.
This is
It's a
more of
thinker.
that. It's a thinker. What do you call those? What kind of sins are those?
We'll have to make something up.
Are those like,
I'll get back to
who's
you.
the thinker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those rodent sins?
Yes, Rodinsons. I love it. We'll do it. Yeah.
The only one that you guys didn't mention that I liked was the closed caption one. So there's a moment where it says closed caption and we sin it. The way that we sin it is by pointing out that closed captions in like the 70s, which is when this show would have been kind of popular, this pretend show, versus now that the sin is that we should have come a lot further with closed captioning than we have. And I like that because I know it's something that we have all adopted in our writing as a really passionate project for us. We go to extreme lengths to make sure that anyone that's hard of hearing will be reading the exact thing that we're saying. And even if the movies or the TV shows fuck up the closed captioning, which they do, as Jonathan can attest to, right now having to rewrite one.
I'll talk about that in a few weeks.
Yeah, you will. So we really try to make sure it matches, and it shouldn't be as difficult as it is. But yeah, so I just like that because it's something that we're passionate about. So
yeah, there's some of these where you're watching the movie or show and you see the subtitles, like they weren't even trying. Like, I mean, they just didn't care.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that's really more for people that are hard of hearing, so they're able to hear what's going on anyways. I don't think they wrote those for people to like, make videos about them later on in life.
Right.
And yet we do.
And yet we do.
Why didn't you think of us subtitling people?
All right, well, let's move on to Space Jam. This was an Atkinson's New Writer 2 script, who we haven't revealed to you yet.
Yeah. But you can have to do the name merger. You're going to do the name merger, right?
Atkin New Writer 2.
Okay. Well, after
I
the name reveal, you have to do the merger.
Correct. And I will. And I was just going to say, no longer New Writer 2. That's right. Joining us now on the show to talk about writing on Space Jam, it is Daniel Cardoso.
Yay.
Welcome, Daniel.
Hello, everyone.
Daniel, along with Ian, who you met
A couple weeks ago,
has joined us and has been writing and has written on one of the movies that we were talking about today, Space Jam, in fact. So we thought we would have Daniel on since we had introduced Ian, and now people know who Ian is, that we would introduce Daniel to you as well. We're going to... Go ahead, Nick.
Before we jump into like what Daniel wrote on for this week, we should also just go through and say the other things that Ian and Daniel have written on, because it's been quite a lot over the last couple months. Daniel, do you remember some of the highlights of what you've written on?
I remember what I've written on. The highlights.
Or just, a list is fine.
Ball of Sin. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Wrote on Soul, Wonder Woman 1984, WW84. I think some things that haven't come out yet. So I don't know if you want me to.
Oh my
yes,
God, you
good
did
call.
a good job. Well done.
You gotta
Holy
keep that
shit.
secret.
Oh my God. Not only are you part of the team, you're also forward thinking. That's right. I literally asked you to spoil some stuff.
When he said Soul, I had to think, wait, has that come out yet? Oh no.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I didn't even think about it. I literally am just here like, let's finally get to talk about all the stuff that you guys have been doing.
Tom in the chat says, please list every sin you've written. So there you go. So yes, this was an Atkinson Cardoso script, or an Akinsadoso. So an Akindoso?
Acadoso?
Somebody suggested cranial in the chat. I like that.
I like Carkinson. It's a Carkinson script. So yeah, Daniel writing with Chris on this. I guess we can start here before we kind of get into Chris's thoughts on the movie, that kind of stuff. How has your experience been? You know, just kind of joining the team and writing and, you know, figuring stuff out. Like, what's it been like for you kind of getting into this?
It's been the worst experience of my life.
Well, I apologize. You are free to go. We will hold you no longer.
No, it's been a lot of fun. It's like this particular type of writing has been like a kind of a merger of like I'm more of an analytical background. So it's like just like very serious stuff, and then like I've always had like a passion for movies and that kind of media. So it's just like it's like merging them, and then like allowing me to add my own sarcastic wit to the whole situation. And it's been a nice experience. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Space Jam, the movie itself. Should we hear Chris's thoughts first?
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll go to Daniel. What does Chris have to say?
Chris says, I didn't much like Space Jam back in 1996, and now, in 2021, it looks like an ancient relic. It's a movie that got a big following over the years because people born in the mid-'80s thought it was rad. Fucking millennials. Almost nothing about Space Jam makes any sense, even in Looney Tunes world. Danny DeVito plays Swackhammer, an evil carnival owner from space. He's been begging his underlings to put in a new attraction because he sees kids getting bored. So his awesome idea is to kidnap the Looney Tunes, which range from 50 to 60 years old. How this will appeal to young aliens is unclear, but now we've got to worry about it. Bugs Bunny is an asshole. Anyway, aliens come to kidnap the Looney Tunes, and Bugs Bunny tricks them into thinking that they have to give them a chance not to be kidnapped. A game of basketball is promised, and as you remember, Michael Jordan retired from the NBA in 1993. Chris Atkinson, I know you listened to the show. I didn't remember that. Okay.
Fair enough.
I'm glad you said it. Retired in 1993, and by the next year was playing minor league baseball. This is important to the plot because the aliens steal the talent of NBA stars to get good at basketball, and they regard Michael Jordan as a baseball player. So the Looney Tunes are free to kidnap Michael Jordan as their own ringer. It should be noted that the Looney Tunes are kidnappers in this movie. Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm not sure we send it, but they are villains as well. Seriously, I could write pages about what's wrong with this film, but how about the game itself? The game is nonstop dunking, which is boring as shit. The Monstars are so good that they run up a 40-point lead or so, but it clearly should be more. At halftime, Bugs tricks everyone into thinking that they've drank the elixir that Jordan drinks to be good. So, of course, the movie shifts to the second half to show the Looney Tunes cheating to get back in the game. What does cheating have to do with your false belief that you are good at basketball? The movie seems to think they are all one and the same. I grew up with the Looney Tunes and loved them. In this movie, their antics don't work very well. Even amidst the insanity, there's logic to the jokes in those cartoons. In this one, everything just seems dumb. Everything in this movie happens because the aliens are dumber than Homer Simpson. I feel like Looney Tunes always made characters who thought they were smart become the target of their gags. It's a formula that worked very well. Space Jam lost what made Looney Tunes funny. And after all that, I still feel like I haven't written enough, but I will end it there. Meaning he had much more sins in the tank. You can feel it, man. On that one. You can
feel it in this one. Just there's so much to write about. Daniel, what are your thoughts on the movie itself, on Space Jam? Like, did you see it when it came out? Like, like how's it been in your life?
Well, I am one of those millennials that was born right in the middle of the 80s. So, yeah, I think I was about 11 when it came out. And, the experience of going back to it was not pleasant. And I think that's just because, I turned into an adult, but like it just seemed so much bigger when I was a kid. Like it was just such a spectacle that like that kind of engrossed you. And then so you never really bothered to notice that there's very little actual plot or like storytelling in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of easy to pick apart.
Were you a Jordan fan back then? Or if you're a basketball fan, were you into Jordan at the time?
No, I was a Patrick Ewing fan.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote a sin about Patrick Ewing, but it didn't. Oh no, wait, that was for a completely different movie. For Soul, I wrote a sin about Patrick Ewing. It didn't make it in.
That's what we do all the time.
Yeah. My dad was a Knicks fan, so I watched a lot more Patrick Ewing growing up than I did Jordan myself.
Literally all the time we're like, was that script or this one? It's a strange thing to be writing on multiple things, and then they come out in different orders and having to kind of remember your experience.
And we always have the thing like we have it this week too, where there's 2 skunk sins in 2 different like skunk smell sins in 2 different videos, and
they're written like months apart.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's wild. It's just wild stuff. So
did you find this one easy to sin though? Because that's one of the experiences that we talk about here on the show is, so you're relatively new. I mean, you're one of the newest people on the team. And sometimes it's harder to write sin. Sometimes the sin, like the scripts are just a slog. But was this one easy because there was so much wrong with it, or easier?
It was easy because like a lot of things like came to me because there was so much like wrong with it, but then it was also difficult because it's like a cartoon, so like holding it to a certain logic doesn't make sense.
Yeah
it's like sinning SpongeBob.
Yeah, we fight with that. Or Rick and Morty,
especially on TV. Since we do so many animated shows where it's just like not supposed to make sense, that you have to figure out new fun ways to make a joke about it, or not sin it or whatever.
I think it's a comedy too, so you're being comedic about a comedy. That's always, for me, that's challenging.
Totally.
You wrote one of my favorite sins. I think you wrote one of my favorite sins. I'm almost positive because Daniel and I worked on the
God, this is going to be embarrassing.
Frame.io editing
really embarrassing
on this one too. So I got to kind of like hear his perspective from a editing. Is this the first one that we did the editing notes on together as well? Yeah. Yes. So we went actually from the whole process, not just writing, but notes on the editing and notes on the combine. Daniel and Ian both are kind of really experiencing the fullness of from the sin to the YouTube channel, the whole process. And that was also really interesting too, because we had a chance to kind of get analytical on the back end and kind of go, how does this sin read and does it make sense?
Yeah.
So I think one of my favorite ones I mentioned to you when you had written it. So I'm excited.
Well, we will chat about it here in a second. First, I just have to know, Danae, because people need to know if they need to take a drink or not. Have you seen Space Jam?
Drink. Drink
Danae
it all.
Danae has not seen Space Jam.
I have seen some Looney Tunes.
Well, there you go. That doesn't count.
So maybe like
feel free.
It doesn't have to be an alcoholic beverage. You know what? Let me just say it never has to be alcoholic. That's your guys' choice.
Of course not.
But no, I haven't seen this one.
Are Looney Tunes still on? Like, is that
I think they're making new ones on HBO Max.
Are they making new ones?
I think so.
Oh, I was just thinking like, because when Aaron and I were kids, it was on it was on like in the morning or in the afternoon, like on your local, Fox station or whatever. And even up through like college, I can remember like watching Looney Tunes in the afternoon, but I didn't know if it was still. Because my daughter, I asked her if she wanted to watch the new Space Jam movie. She doesn't really know who they are.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more options now. There's Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts, for example.
Oh, cool.
just to pick one
Nick
random.
Jagged in the comments confirms that there's new Looney Tunes on HBO Max.
Yeah, I thought there was a new Looney Tunes show on HBO Max.
Yes, it's called Looney Tunes Cartoons.
There you go.
Okay, well, I'm dumb.
I had to look it up.
I was just curious. I was really curious because it's just not. I just don't feel like that's something kids are talking about.
Well, it's interesting because now that I'm on their Wikipedia, I have all of the knowledge of the universe at my fingertips. What's interesting is that they have continued to put content out consistently with really not too much of a break in between, but they continue to kind of change the title. So it's now Looney Tunes Cartoons. Before it was New Looney Tunes. Before it was the Looney Tunes Show. So they just kind of keep changing, like with different iterations. And I'm sure they're also changing streaming platforms because that's a really popular thing to do. Can we stop doing that?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm watching RuPaul's Drag Race over here.
God.
Why is it now suddenly over here? Why do I have? Come on, God.
Oh yeah, that's only on
Paramount
Plus now.
Yep.
My wife and daughter watch it.
I want to watch All Stars.
Yeah, no.
Why? What the hell? Sorry.
Talking to Ian yesterday, man, I wish I was in the UK where everything just goes to Netflix there.
What's
like
that?
you just have to have Netflix.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
It is amazing.
Anyway.
Sorry.
I have seen Space
Way off
Jam.
topic.
I did not find it all that amusing even at the time. I think I was kind of past the age of giggling at a lot of the stuff that's in there.
You have kids that are a little older now, though.
Mm-hmm.
Did any of your kids get into that movie at all?
No.
Like, was it already past?
It was already past. Yeah, it was already behind them. It was ahead of me and behind them, or behind me and ahead of them, whatever you want to say. So yeah, has never been a big part of our house. Jonathan, what about you?
I saw it when it came out. I saw it in the theater, and I don't think I've ever watched it since.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I didn't remember much about it. I was watching the video, going like, yeah, I don't remember any of this. I mean, I kind of remember like Jordan wasn't good as an actor, but I mean, I don't think that's a huge surprise.
Yeah.
But
I thought he was surprised. He was better than I expected upon rewatching.
That's
Like,
good.
it wasn't great, but it was like better than like some other like sports stars I've seen do movies, or like people that just kind of step into it to like, lead.
And he is playing himself, which
That helps.
I've heard that's quite complicated
What?
for some people. I've heard some people playing yourself is harder, like actors that have to go make a cameo as themselves or
You
something.
think
That's
so?
what I've heard. I don't know.
Are you being serious?
That's
I
what
would
I've
think
heard.
for
I mean,
for actors maybe, because
Yes.
like you'll hear like singers talk about it's hard to sing bad notes, like, you know, so it's hard to play yourself, might kind of be in that same range. But for non-actors, I imagine playing yourself is probably the easiest gig.
you're probably right. But it looked like some of the other basketball players were really struggling in their few moments. Is that true, Daniel?
Yes.
Like Larry Bird and Danny Ainge.
Yeah, Larry's never been a great actor. Never.
I feel like Anthony Miller, his line, like I just feel like
Yeah.
it came out of left field, and
Yeah.
He was the one talking about like how like if he was concerned he was going to get the virus or whatever. Was that Anthony Miller's?
yeah, he said like bacteria could travel at the speed of light, and
That's amazing.
like it was a terrible line to begin with, and then like he had to like deliver it,
Yeah.
and then semi-serious. It wasn't easy for him.
Like watching Anthony Miller try to act 25 years after the fact is that's a trip on so many levels. But yeah, no, I didn't like it from what I remember, and I've never had any desire to go back to it. I don't know that like I'm a diehard Looney Tunes guy either. I mean, I like them. I always enjoyed them.
Show him
but
your tattoo.
I have, yeah, that's true.
You almost stood
but,
up
like, I
like
don't-
you were gonna lift up your shirt.
I don't have a tattoo. I don't
You
have a
went like
tattoo.
this, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
How floored would you have been if like
That'd be
if you had
amazing,
that,
like
like-
Tweety Bird, just
Or
right
that
there.
like Bugs Bunny one where they're like in like the Jinko pants, you know, like
Yeah.
remember that shirt
Yes.
where it was just like the
Yes.
like the bro one, you know, where they're all like back to back with their arms crossed with like Tasmanian Devil. Fucking love that shirt.
I have a question about something Chris said though. Isn't Bugs Bunny is an asshole, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I
his
think
whole
so.
character, yeah.
I think he's always been kind of a dick.
Yeah.
so I don't really. Maybe he's more of a like just a dick in this movie than he normally is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always thought he was that was just kind of who he was, but I could be wrong.
Let's get into the sins. Danae, why don't you kick us off since you're excited to talk about one of Daniel's sins? You
Okay.
hope.
So, This is when it can get super fucking awkward, especially if I'm misremembering. There's a sin where, and having not seen this movie, there's a lot of things going on that I genuinely am like, I don't understand. But I think it's when they're going to the center of the earth or they're tunneling through, and there's this rocket ship, and all of these creatures are on the rocket ship, and they're kind of like just going down into this void, and they hit a Warner Brothers logo and kind of bounce into it, kind of like a trampoline, as if you push against, and it's the membrane sin. So the visual on the screen is this rocket ship trying to press through this Warner Brothers logo, and it's giving a lot of resistance. And the sin says Warner Brothers foreshadows its own future existence as a useless membrane at the bottom of a dark chasm, trapping its own intellectual property in a void at the center of the earth, which is such a great sin. But then it keeps going where the narrator starts to explain it to people, like, I'm talking about HBO Max. the void. That void is HBO Max, and it's just the delivery of it and the over explanation of it, and it's just really intellectually smart. So, question is that was that your sin, Daniel?
yes, it was.
Yay!
Yes, it was.
That is good. That was one of my favorites as well. I had that one written down too.
It was so funny.
And it was perfect too for Jeremy to read because Jeremy has such an issue with just all the different streaming channels, and so just not that that's Jeremy, it's CinemaSins narrator, but
right.
But what a clever way of saying it, and the visual is just a perfect thing anyway. And with their logo on it, it was great.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you're like, I couldn't have written that one if I really tried. Other ones that I liked was just Bugs Bunny. How do you not know who Bugs Bunny is? Just pointing that out. And the sin, so like trying to explain who Bugs Bunny is, and it's like, how do you not know who this is? It's I know, and then Sin continues with, I know that this is a joke for very young kids, but even they are yelling at the screen, how the fuck do you not know who Bugs Bunny is? And these kids are getting their mouths washed out with soap for saying fuck so casually. That was a wonderful one to visualize. I really enjoyed the Sin when they infiltrate Michael Jordan's house, I believe. And the narrator just starts to talk about how the house is like colonial revival or something, and the room that they were in is Elizabethan Tudor, and like,
I love that.
Yeah, so good.
That's not Michael Jordan's house. Like that's
all
not
that Michael Jordan's house
TV.
stuff was great. Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone had to do. Did you have to do research on that one? Was that your Sin, Daniel?
Yes, the Elizabethan Tudor one was. I had to do a lot of research on that.
Did you?
I just knew that the two room, like that room, didn't feel like it fit with the rest of the house. So I had to like find out like what architectural like style it was done in, and then I actually found out it was like two very different styles that you don't really build houses that way. You have to be like a choice by like an owner or something. And
that's really interesting, especially considering like in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, does Chris or Daniel just know this, or is this one of those research moments? Because you never know what sort of random facts we all have in our minds. I can kind of go to some really random like anatomy facts that maybe would be unexpected. I didn't know if in your repertoire was architecture.
I do have a little bit of architecture, like not like official, just like as a fan. In one of the TV sins, the first Loki, the architecture ones in those, I kind of knew that. Yeah, nice. It's like about brutalist architecture and postmodernism and things like that.
That's super cool. And obviously we have to say about the all of the board sins, which Chris kind of mentioned in his intro, and it would be impossible for me to, well, it's not impossible for me to just list all of the sins out, but if you haven't watched the video yet, just expect that Chris rages on the scoreboard multiple times, and it is really fun to listen to.
It's great. It's some of my favorite kind of stuff where you actually think about the context of the scoreboard, which you're obviously not supposed to think about. But yeah, no, it's great.
No, it reminds me of when he does this with the poker stuff, or really games in general, and I'll just like break it down. Having no experience with basketball in general, I don't even know how I would begin to go about the process of figuring out how the game would progress in a scoreboard manner. So to hear him sin it kind of gives me an idea of how the game works a little bit, and also just the kind of writer I will never be, and that's okay.
And it's a weird thing to get wrong. I mean, for whatever reason, basketball movies in general aren't very good. There are exceptions, sure. Hoosiers, but this movie was animated, and they could have there's so many things they could have done. And I love that you guys send about the fact that it ends up just being dunking, which Chris mentioned that in his thing. But yeah, the scoreboard thing, like, that's not hard to like.
They just didn't care.
That's not hard to make work.
Yeah, but they just didn't care. They didn't think anybody would care, and they just didn't care. And that's the way it is. I remember, I love that kind of stuff. I have vivid memory of writing bananagrams sins in the Peter Rabbit video. They were playing this bananagrams game, and so I looked it up and all the rules, and I just did like 3 or 4 sins on how they were breaking the rules. And anytime there's a board game or a card game or anything, it's like, look that stuff up, because there's a chance that the people who are playing it in the movie don't actually know how to play it.
No. Just like the people in Big Bang Theory don't know how to eat food.
Right, yes.
We wrote that together, and I'm like, what is Aaron talking about? And then like I look it up, and I'm like, oh, this is a thing.
That's all I have for my sins today.
Jonathan, what about you?
Yeah, I liked, there was quite a few things. I'll mention a couple. I just loved that there was the scene about I don't remember. Actually, I'm trying to remember what the first part of the sin was, but it ended with, I suppose, Jane Wyman throws the first pitch out at every game, and Jack Benny is the Secretary of Travel. Just the way they were, like, the mentions they were throwing out there and stuff. And then there was the scene where Daffy Duck is, like, all adamant. I don't know the context of it because I haven't seen the movie forever, but he's all adamant walking out of the shower, like, just yelling at people. And it's like, sexual dysfunction aside, why is Daffy Duck walking into the building straight from a shower? Does he live in the Union Hall? And then, honestly, just sending Danny Ainge. That was
So
just,
good.
I'm not a Danny Ainge fan. So that was just fun.
I thought,
Just always-
I had written down, like, just in general, all the basketball sins about the players were so great. The Sean Bradley stuff was so funny. At one point, if you don't know Sean Bradley, he's like 7'7". He's one of the tallest person ever to play in the NBA. And he's like a stick, too. And really the only thing he had going for him was his height and a very moderate amount of athletic ability. And so, just the narrator continuing to just insult Sean Bradley time after time and finish with, "You thought I was done bagging on Sean Bradley, didn't you?" I thought all that stuff was
It's
really
interesting.
funny.
I'm sorry,
It's
go ahead,
interesting
Danny.
because Daniel actually sent an email internally. Did you want to talk about that, Daniel?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I kind of It's the first time I've encountered something like this, so I didn't really know how to go about it. But yeah, I had sent Chris and Danae an email just because I was talking to a friend who's really into basketball, and he had informed me that Sean Bradley was in a really bad bicycle accident earlier this year. And then those were some of my favorite sins as well. And then afterwards, I was like, "Oh, I feel really bad about that." And I mean, I didn't write them. I had wished I had gotten.
Yeah, we have that happen a lot where it's like,
But,
I wish I would have been able to write that one. And yeah, the general feedback was, I think we probably still would have written these and they're funny and it still is like, but if it becomes an issue, we'll know what to do with it. But it's always interesting when we write something and then something happens in the real world and you're like, oh, I hope this is received correctly because it's, it's meant to be all in fun.
If you had randomly written a sin, I bet he can't even ride a bike. Would have probably taken that out.
Oh, for sure.
That probably would have.
Yeah.
That probably would have come out.
Because then it would have been more obvious that we were sinning the person and not like
right.
And weirdly, that happens. And we have no
sometimes.
idea there's real world stuff.
Sometimes that does accidentally happen. Always stuff to be aware of.
But it was so cool to see that email come in because it's just a basis of awareness of what's going on in the world around. And when we do these videos, sometimes it's like, there are lines that we don't want to cross. And that area is often just very blurry and gray until all of a sudden it's like, oh, that was a wall. And we either didn't know it or we did know it and we steered clear of it the best we can. So, but it was good to point that out. And that stuff might continue to happen, but good to be aware.
The way I've heard it described, and this is what I will say, is we want to be funny. We don't want to be mean. If something feels more mean than funny, then we've messed up. Mm-hmm. If it's really funny and also a little bit mean, we're good, right? But we want to be funny, not mean. And
that was one of the first things I think Chris said to me and Aaron. He sent us a little thing, and that was one of the first things was we're not just gonna
it's not funny
say
because it's
sucks.
mean. It's funny because it's funny, and it might also be a little bit mean, but that's okay. That's kind
snarky.
of the line. Yeah, the snark line is an interesting one.
But sometimes we're mean.
So glad to clear that up. Glad that's clear.
I was going to say real quick, though, talking about just the basketball players, one thing about watching this video that did actually make me nostalgic was not the Looney Tunes stuff. It was that was my NBA, growing up. I still I love the NBA today. I'm not saying NBA is not what it used to be, but just that was when I was 20 when this movie came out, but a lot of those players were getting near the end of their. Of course, those are the players that I grew up with, like Ewing and Bird and
Barkley.
A lot of those guys. Yeah. Barkley. Oh yeah, definitely Barkley. I'm not anybody's role model, which is still one of my all-time favorite things any celebrity has ever said. I was just kind of. It was weird. I kind of was getting a little choked up because I was like, oh, I miss watching these guys play.
Yeah. Let's see. What else did I want to mention? You know what? I'm just going to mention some of the jokes I loved. I really loved the joke after the sin where the narrator was like, I really should let this go, but I think for every nitpick I make, I save a puppy, and then finishes with, you want me to save puppies, don't
love that.
you?
I love that one so much.
I love that. The sexual harassment, Bugs Bunny lands a kiss on somebody, and of course the beautiful sexual harassment. Was great.
So sexual.
And then the sin that ended with the comment, not even the cartoon world, sexy Jesus 69, as if he's like calling somebody out in the future comments for saying it's just a cartoon. I thought that was just absolutely beautiful. So some really great stuff here. Daniel, what did you want to mention from the sins?
You guys hit on a bunch of my favorites. I love the calling Danny Ainge an asshole 3 times and then taking a dig at Kurt Rambis. I just thought that was a beautiful progression. And then at the end, just because it was so quick, and he's just like, everyone proves their talents back by fucking duck.
Yeah.
I was just like, it proves almost nothing except for all these guys are tall.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, there you go. There's Space Jam. Before we move on to Wedding Crashers, Daniel, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for chatting what you wrote on. And it's great to have you writing sins with us, and really appreciate your work. And you're doing great work.
Hey, I've got an idea.
Sure, go ahead.
I've got an idea. Maybe in the future we can do like a little like an AMA sesh with all of us and the new writers, so people can send in their questions for Daniel and
fun.
Ian and everyone. Maybe we can do like a bonus pod or something like that.
Sure, that sounds a lot of fun.
Because I'm sure people want to know more about everybody on the team.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No,
All right.
you don't want to know anything else about me. I'm dull.
That's not true. You could have a secret Bugs Bunny tattoo.
That's right. We almost saw
I
it.
have no tattoos. I really don't. I don't like needles.
He does. He's got a Porky Pig tramp stamp. It's just the pigtail. It's pretty amazing.
I had a lot of tequila that night, and I had very mean Barrett is not a good person to drink around. That's all I'll say. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. That's all, folks. That's all. Daniel, you did great.
We can see you in the back.
We see you in the backstage. You are good to go.
Yeah.
Man, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. And we even went a little longer than I said. Actually, quite a bit longer than I said. So I apologize.
Sorry.
I hope that was okay.
I didn't think about that.
So
we can't hear you saying it's fine or you bunch of dicks because we're.
So I'm sure it's fine.
Well, he's holding up both middle fingers. So
hello, welcome back to the show.
If I had a little more lead in, I would have actually done it.
Yeah.
Oh shit! We'll do it again.
He's holding up both middle fingers. So yeah. See, so there you go.
Okay, for real.
All right.
Bye.
Yep. We'll see you.
Bye.
Poor guy.
Let's move on to Wedding Crashers. This was a Cher Whittington script. Ian and Barrett writing on this one. So this is a Sherrington.
Yeah, but we didn't have Ian on because fuck that guy.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
He's also in the chat right now.
He got his introduction. Now Daniel's got his introduction. So yeah.
I saw he was in the chat, which is exactly why I said that.
I see.
So
I'm smart.
Yeah, Wedding Crashers. And you talk about movies that haven't aged well. This has got to be towards the at least the upper part of that list, right? Like there's just a lot of things in this.
I hated this movie when I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, I think I did too, actually.
I hate this type of aughts comedy. And a lot of them are Vince Vaughn movies. And I like Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn is great. Owen Wilson's great.
Yeah, Freaky is a great example of a recent example of how good Vince Vaughn can be. But I hated this Vince Vaughn character, which is probably why he gets to do other movies, because this is what made him popular, unfortunately. But I can't. I just like two guys that are just dicks and they still get everything. I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And that's before all the horrible sexist shit that's in this movie.
Yeah.
Outside of that, even, it's terrible.
Yeah. Danae, do you have familiarity with the movie Beyond the Sins video?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. I remember thinking Vince Vaughn is funny in it, in that I like Owen Wilson, but I just didn't like the movie. I just didn't, and I haven't revisited it other than the Sins video, watching that and just going, yep, which is what I do on Sins videos sometimes. Let's get into the sins, of which there are many. By the way, I thought this video was absolutely hilarious. But I guess before that, did Barrett have anything to say about this?
Yeah. Barrett said, I love Wedding Crashers.
Sorry, Barrett.
Oops.
Even though it's obviously problematic at times. I think he's the only one that likes it, though. I don't think Ian enjoyed this one either. So, anyways, this is the last. Vince Vaughn is super chatty and charming, even though he's a big old buttcock performance of his career. I think everyone's attractive. The script is solid. Walken is walking. Jackson Maine is a dickhole, and it's just a fun time. But it's still astonishing to me that the gay panic cliche continues so often through these comedies from this century. It really was a crutch for jokes that kept getting reused. Anyway, I've probably seen this movie in a Jeremy amount of times.
That is an official measurement when you've seen a movie of Jeremy. Yeah, for sure. Was that it? Was that the end of the Barrett thoughts?
Yep.
Okay, we can move into the sins then. Jonathan, why don't you kick us off? What were some of your favorite sins from this one?
I liked Owen Wilson just walking into the office to talk to Vince Vaughn with that cup, and the sin is just, fuck us up with this tiny ass cup. And then they make a Mallrats reference and then end the sin with, and that kid is back on the escalator, which was hilarious. And then just them drinking at the weddings, and the sin was, these guys are drinking so hard that not only will their dicks not work later in the night, they may just fall flat off. I thought was a very good point. And then just talking about like when they're going over the rules, and then I love that sin. At what point do the rules stop governing behavior? Clearly, sexual harassment is not mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Danae, what about you?
Yeah, watching this was uncomfortable. The entire thing was uncomfortable to watch. And I really liked the sinning aspects of specifically all the I don't know. I'm just thinking about something. This reminds me of Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell. There's like a type of humor that's just right over my comfort level, and this seems to be one that I would burn to the ground.
Yeah, I think Ferrell is better at it though. Like,
I don't think he's as I don't know.
Like Farrell's films feel more like they're making fun of that. Like the Ron Burgundy stuff is so over the top. Like they're just making fun of that behavior.
Right.
Movies like this feel like we're supposed to root for these
Yeah,
guys.
we're supposed to like these guys. Yeah.
Like they're the good ones. And they even have like the Bradley Cooper character is a great example of they're trying to put a bigger dick than them so they look better. The Bradley Cooper character is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is not a person that exists
look at
on
these...
any plane.
Yeah, you're right. Look at these adolescent men child. Oh, they're being wrong, but they're just guys. Guys will be guys, and then they'll learn. And you're like, don't you just love it when they learn something? And it's just like,
and somehow it all resolves itself.
Like after
so I
that,
like that the sins kind of pointed that out as it went. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because to me, that's kind of a fun script. Is where so here you have Barrett, who obviously enjoys this movie and still sinning it, and then another perspective who didn't enjoy it and is sinning it, and you can still kind of come up with a fun and entertaining perspective. I think so but the ones I really enjoyed, there's like a balloon one where one of the guys is creating balloon animals, and the sin is about how he got the balloon in the first place, because people who make balloon animals have, quote, Batman level super belt to hold that shit. And I loved it because there's this one particular balloon animal guy that's at Branson Landing whenever we've gone there through the years, and he just has this massive balloon setup. It's insane. And then I happen to have a couple of other friends who that's what they do for kids parties. They show up and they make balloon animals, and they have these massive belts. So I was like, holy shit. That's something I hadn't really thought about in a long time.
That's real.
And Batman level is accurate. So I guess so these two guys, they have this code back and forth about all of the ways that they're being absolute dick fucks. So to people in general, and they keep like referencing like rule number whatever. And so they reference another one of these rules. And the sin is there's at least 76 rules that we know of and exactly how many stages that they have to be aware of. And then the Latin translation of the Silmarillion is easier to follow than this. Any Lord of the Rings reference I'm fucking going to love. And then I have to point out that Jeremy spoke Klingon in this.
Yeah.
And
very well.
I had that down. Yeah.
Very well.
That was a really exciting one. It was a fun lead up.
I had that down too.
Yeah, it was a great setup. And it was interesting because Ian actually, I think he wrote to Twitter about it, like asking for Star Trek Twitter people, because he's involved in the Twitterverse in the Star Trek realm, to kind of go, okay, what's the best way to go about this? And then he looked up multiple translations and cross-referenced them for accuracy, and then had to provide Jeremy with how to pronounce all of this. And then Jeremy decided he was going to obviously give it a go. Barrett was like, yeah, let's give this a go. So to put it in front of Jeremy and say, hey, speak Klingon, I think Jeremy was excited about it. I think he did well. Would you be excited to do something like that, Dice? Or like, would you want to try to speak a completely different language?
Yeah, 100%. This is, I think Jeremy is built the same way. I think our editors are built the same way. Give us a challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's really fun to do something out of our comfort zone, something interesting, something challenging. It helps mix it up a little bit. And even if you get it wrong, like, you get to give it a go, you know? That's one of the things, you know, you mentioned, like, me enjoying doing tongue twisters and that kind of thing, because it's a challenge. It's fun. It's like, you know, it kind of mixes up the recording process a little bit.
It does. Yeah. And it also is fun because Jeremy is a fan of Star Trek, and the narrator has hinted at that multiple times. So it's a way to kind of wink at his nerddom without it being too over the top too, because it had the nice setup. So it was also interesting to watch the editing process as we were learning like how to go into our editing software and make notes and things to show the Klingon and the translation, and does it make sense from a perspective of somebody who's hard of hearing. Like, they would want to know that the narrator is speaking this really interesting language. So I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that was cool. I always envy people that can actually speak Klingon, because I mean, I've watched a lot of Star Trek, but like, I can't speak. I mean, like, I have nothing, you know, on it's, and so
I forgot
that's impressive that he did all that research.
Yeah, he did a ton of research on that one, especially as a Star Trek fan. He would want to get it right. I scrolled down on my notes, and there's just this one little line that I forgot about: just picking up eggs with bare hands.
Yes, definitely.
Eggs. That's another crossover this week. Eggs.
And I love talking to, this isn't off the side, but just talking about how cool Ian is. I love talking to him about Star Trek, because he's like me, where we just watch it all, and we're just not like, we're not like the, you know, well, this version of Star Trek is better than the, you know, so.
Yeah.
I like the free-flowing Star Trek fan. It's more fun.
Oh, Star Trek is love, man.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
and it's the good franchise with Star in the title. Did I say that out loud? Shit.
Those Stargate fans are going to come after you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
No, not Stargate fans.
Side note: Stargate was one of the first sci-fi movies that I watched when I was, and I fucking loved that movie.
Yeah, Stargate's great. I love it too.
Loved Stargate.
I don't remember. I've seen it like
literally
twice.
just
I don't remember
started
anything
having
about
flashbacks, just sitting here going, I remember that movie.
Did you watch Did you watch the show?
No.
There's like 12 seasons or something of a show.
No, just the movie.
With MacGyver.
Fucking love that movie.
That's right. Richard.
I haven't thought about it in so long. Hey guys, I gotta go
James
watch
Spader
a movie.
and Kurt Russell.
I'm gonna go.
Like in a day where you could get a movie with James Spader and Kurt Russell.
Right, man.
That.
Right. I loved that they make fun of them for treating the assistant like she should go to the store and get them a sleeping bag, and called her a sleeping bag sorcerer, that she's not just a sleeping bag sorcerer. I thought that was well said. I love the callback to the premature champagnulation. And then even saying, yes, we've done this before. Go subscribe to TV Sins or whatever. I thought that was great.
Can I tell you the background on that rose super fast?
Sure, go for it. Yeah.
Ian remembered that one from TV Sins and asked me to confirm that it was like where it was or something. So I searched our archives for the keywords until I found where it appeared, and made sure I'm like, yes, confirmed. This was one of the sins, because he remembered it and he wanted to do a callback to it.
Yeah.
The work we do.
I have to mention the Hamilton. I don't concur, sir. Hamilton was killed by Aaron Burr, sir. I thought that was great. Sand is not a place for coitus. Anakin was right. I had to mention that one. And then I wanted to mention where the movie does this thing where it has their bad guy state in exact terms what is so awful about our protagonists, as if we're supposed to like defend them or something. And I just love the sin because he basically says they go to weddings and trick people into sleeping with them. And then the sin is, well, yeah, when you put it like that. I just think that's such a great way to point out that the movie thinks it's doing one thing and it's doing exactly the opposite. And then the line in the movie is she doesn't want to see you, and Owen Wilson's character says, I disagree, and then the sin is just stalking. Just so perfect. I mean, it just absolutely eviscerates this movie in those moments with one word, and it's just like
get him.
And it's so weird that Vince Vaughn ends up staying with Isla Fisher after all that is mentioned. Like, her parents are like okay with them getting married.
Of course, because at the end of movies, you get married and you fall in love. Yeah. And everything's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about my daughter making her own decisions, but if you made a confession like that in front of me, I'd be like, nope. I'm sorry. Like, you are not marrying this guy.
Nope. We are moving to another country today.
And yes, the chat has well brought up that what coyotes do in the desert is coyotes. That is a different thing.
Wouldn't that be coyotes though?
That should be coyotes. Actually, now that you mention it, definitely.
Glad
should
we
be.
had this chat.
Lawyered.
All right, let's move into keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Ha ha! Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to take a look at something from putting together the content for the week. I'll kick us off this week. I really didn't have a ton of stuff, but I did want to mention we talked about the passwords. And so I did a search to see, like, because I was thinking if I could even make an even more like sexual like password, like an is it called like ASCII art, ASCIE art, where you use like actual typewriter symbols to draw things. And so I did some research for that, and I just have to tell you, that is some of the most incredible like art I've ever seen. The ASCII art, like if you've ever gone and I researched it, and like people are like really genius with that stuff. And
text to ASCII art, I think.
Yeah, it's ASC, I think. ASCII. I think it's ASCII. I could be wrong. I don't see one on my keyboard, the ASCII, but maybe your keyboard. Just let that fly over your head. So anyhow, but the art is absolutely incredible. And yes, if you needed any more proof that at every level of technology we use it for porn first, there's certainly examples of that, as well as my Google search returned to me. So thank you, Google, for being thorough with your searching algorithms. But anyhow, yes, as in general, it's some pretty incredible artwork that people can do with just characters on your keyboard, including the ASCII.
That's right.
All right. Boredom. What about and boredom? Jonathan, what about you?
I only wrote on the one Rick and Morty episode, and I didn't really do any investigating on anything on that. But I will say this morning we were, as we do on our when we talk to each other, we have our own language and we make weird jokes about movies and pop culture. And we were going on a thing about Black Widow, and Aaron brought up maybe a joke about because I think I was about to make a pun, and then I said, oh my God, what has Aaron done to me? And then Aaron said something along the lines, I have secretly done something, but I have left the antidote in your medicine cabinet, so you never look for it. Kind of making fun of a problem with Black Widow. What was interesting to me about that was I was like, medicine cabinets, is that even a thing anymore? Do people have medicine cabinets anymore?
Wait, let me get this. Maybe I missed something. Are you doing a keeping tabs on a Discord conversation we had?
What was
Is
it?
that what's
Discord?
happening now?
It was
Slack.
No,
today?
this
this
caused
morning?
me. this caused me to
Wait, are we
do
talking
research.
about the spoiler chat for the person who hasn't seen the movie that I had to mute our channels this
no
morning
spoiler.
because
There
you
was no
guys are like
spoiler.
beep bop boop bop beep bop
There
boop
was no
bop beep bop
spoiler.
boop bop beep
No.
bop. That's the alarm going off
did-
of all.
that's the
It was
spoiler
just
alarm.
chat explosion.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I did not. If we did spoil anything, I apologize. I don't think. we
Anyhow,
did, though,
continue, Jonathan. This made you think of something.
this made me think of medicine cabinets. So I typed into Google, "Do medicine cabinets are medicine cabinets still a thing?"
I can't believe this. Keeping tabs. This is amazing.
Well, I didn't
Are
have
they,
anything else.
Jonathan?
And,
Are they still a thing?
They are,
Wow.
and they're actually because I was just picturing like the mirror that opens up, you
Sure,
know, and
yeah,
there's
yeah.
just like
people
you
still
know,
have those too. Yeah.
They do, but like they're super enough, like, and they're really expensive, or they can be. And now
Sure.
I'm upset I don't have one. Like they have ones with built-in night lights. They have ones with defoggers for your mirror.
This is my favorite keeping tabs of all
They
time.
have some-
Like this is
This is amazing.
Really?
They have some with TVs in them.
we have a Slack
that so
conversation this morning. And you search for our medicine cabinets, a real thing. And
No,
it's
still
just
a
like,
thing.
I
Still a
know.
thing.
I'm just exaggerating, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying
yeah.
it's just man.
I don't know. It was just
It just tickles me. That
It
tickles
just
me.
felt like an old man joke, and so I was just like, it just made me think, like, man, do people still have medicine cabinets? Like, that's just that seems
Why
so
that tickles
odd.
me so much.
No, it's
Amazing.
hilarious.
I'm
I can't
sorry.
believe after I did it, I'm like, I have to make this my keeping tabs because it's ridiculous that I'm spending like 20 minutes of my day looking
That's
at medicine
great. That's
cabinets.
great. Thank
I
you,
really-
Jonathan, for that.
Now I'm upset that I didn't have one built in when I had my house
That's
constructed.
what I was going to
That's right.
say. Is like next level is you remodeling your bathroom.
I'm going
just
to
so
now.
that you can have
Right.
one of these.
I want a defogger medicine cabinet.
You
'cause
should
Yeah.
put together like a little poll with the pictures of the different medicine cabinet styles, and then people can help you vote on which one you would get.
I'm
It sounds
just
pretty
excited.
amazing.
I'm just excited someday to get old enough to use those day of the week pill things where you
me
you put your
too.
pills Monday
Me
through
too.
Sunday or whatever.
My
I
my
can't wait.
in-laws
That's going to
stayed
be
with
a
us.
blast.
My in-law stayed with us for a few weeks after my father-in-law, had he had messed up his knee, and so we were just helping them out. And they have those,
Yeah.
because they're older. And like on Sunday night, like they get together and they put their medicine in the little
And they're-
thing. It was
and
the
I
it was
know,
the
it's
cutest
great.
thing I've
I
ever
cannot wait.
seen.
I
They're like
cannot
having
wait.
conversations while they're doing it, talking about their week. It was so sweet.
Honey, it's medicine sorting time. This is great.
My
I love
gosh.
it. It's my favorite
And
thing
I
to ever
felt so
happen on
bad
this
for
show.
my mother-in-law too, because one of those nights, like after she had gotten it all done, she forgot to close the lids, and she got up really quick, and everything. Yeah, it was bad.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I know it was.
Yeah,
so
I
sad.
just want to let you know I use those not regularly, but there was a time like when pandemic first started, we did an immune
yeah.
booster, and
Yeah.
I went on to Amazon and bought one for myself and one for Iris, and apparently they have ones where like you can rip the whole back open and just load them in, then you close the back so you don't have to open tab at a time. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff out there. It's fascinating,
It's
and
great.
now I know that there's cabinets to put that inside of.
Imagine
with
that, a medicine
defoggers and
cabinet.
TVs and night lights.
Oh shit.
Tanae, follow that.
Okay, so one of the most common, I suppose, comments that came in from the decoy bonus round was, "Thank you, you've ruined this word for me forever."
Yeah.
And I looked up what that's called. That's called semantic satiation.
Nice.
It's a psychological phenomenon in which repetition causes a word or phrase to temporarily lose meaning for the listener, who then perceives the speech as repeated, meaningless sounds. And that is certainly what we all experience in the bonus round. So that was semantic satiation, and I loved learning that.
Semantic satiation.
It's a
Love
great
it.
word, right?
I got to hold on to that. I got to find a way. They say if you find a way to use a word or phrase 4 times within the first 24 hours, that you'll
Right.
keep it. So I gotta say words a bunch of times today, and then be like, somebody be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
I've
"I'm
never
just
heard that before.
experiencing
That's
semantic
interesting.
satiation."
I feel like this is a thing that you would in particular really love, Aaron, because of your love of words and definitions, because you like to satiate yourself or fill yourself up to full of
Right.
good shit all the time, especially when it's like a juicy word that has a very specific meaning. So
Yeah.
I think you'll be
love
able
it.
to. I think you'll be able to cling on to that one. Cling on.
Well, they're nice.
Sorry.
Well done.
Sorry about that.
That's the beauty of wordplay. That's how
I just
wordplay works.
popped right
you just
out.
yell it out after you do it. That's amazing. Klingon.
Anal.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan. And on that note, let's move into the comment section.
I'm the worst.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're just going to take a comment from either the week's video, somewhere else online, could be Discord, wherever. What do you guys think? What's your comment for this week? Danae, go first.
Mine comes from the Tube of Views this week, and it was for, I believe, Everything Wrong with Rick and Morty. No, Wedding Crashers. Yeah, it was Wedding Crashers. This is from Dare to be Deviant. Says, for the second time in 10 years, Jeremy is actually right and serious about the Visine thing. It does not induce wicked shits like Hollywood wants us to believe. It actually causes intestinal pain and makes the body freak the fuck out. You will want to have poison control on standby. There's some people commenting about that, and then I comment, wait, what was the first time? Because he says for the second time in 10 years, Jeremy is actually right and serious about the Visine thing. So he actually responded to me just as we started the show and says, I worded it incorrectly, darn you, syntax, and meant it. It's been a while since Jeremy mentioned anything as a serious PSA in a video. Last time was in the Midsommar
Wow.
Episode where they flashed the suicide hotline number for a bit, and he urged viewers to consult professionals. It's just a bit unexpected from a tongue-in-cheek YouTube channel to be dead serious for a moment. So I thought that was kind of a fun thing. I thought it was a hilarious dig in a way at Jeremy being right about something, but he or she actually had a more serious approach. So that was kind of neat. Yeah.
Jonathan, what about you?
Oh, I was on this Reddit thread about medicine cabinets. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, the comment I picked is from the Rick and Morty episode, the first one. I can't remember the title of it now. The Dinner with Andre reference, the one I wrote on. And the comment was, because I wrote a sin about Jessica is painting her nails on the bed, and I wrote a sin about not having like a towel or anything underneath you.
Right.
There was a comment on that said, when you've been painting your nails since you were 12, you don't need a towel or anything under them. The main reason I'm referring to this comment is because the commenter's name is Betty White. And I just want to assume it's Betty White.
Of course. Well, she listens to the show as well.
Yes.
So
yeah. That's
the list
amazing.
grows.
It reminds me of that.
And that's probably true about the painting nails. My daughter just always puts something under it.
Sure.
So that was what my mind was.
It reminds me so much of the sleeping on the floor sin from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in that people are like, yeah, but people do that. And it's like, but it's still a sin. Like, fine. People don't put it out. That's right.
If you're letting your 12-year-old kid do anything with paint on their bed with no protection, you deserve whatever hell comes your way.
This is going to sound strange, I think, but my mom and dad gave me a whole bunch of like twin size sheets, and they literally still have the sheets that I had on my bed when I was little. And they still have a stain on them from when I painted my nails on my bed.
There you go.
Literally just swaths of paint. So you're
that
totally
could be
right.
Sweet, or that could be like, see, Danae, you sucked.
Or both.
Or both. It just reminds me of, there was another one, the comments this week, where it was about the ray that dissolved the clothing, and they're saying, well, it didn't dissolve the clothing, it pulled all his
I read that.
implants out, right? That's actually a great observation. I didn't catch that. That's really cool. I'm glad that you said that. But the actual sin there was about the fact that it was convenient that it just left
covered his stuff.
Yeah, that it continued to cover the genitals.
Which they actually end up exposing multiple times in the coming up episodes and just blur. So
yeah. So yeah, it's interesting why they make those choices, but
that happens does that happen in Mortyplicity, where he just takes his pants off at the dinner table or at the breakfast table?
Yeah. That is the decoy episode. That is Mortyplicity.
Yeah, he exposed his junk.
Yeah. But the one I wanted to mention was from Space Jam. The comment is simply from Benjamin, who says, CinemaSins cover Space Jam, Michael Jordan. And I took that personally. I love that reference to The Last Dance, and well done. Very well done indeed.
Amazing. They did an outtake too, right?
I think they did do a Last Dance outtake.
Yeah,
so,
I think it was that. It might have even been that line.
Might have been. All right, let's move into Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we have seen recently. I'm going to kick us off. This is going to be specifically a Beyond the Sins about the movie Sisters, which is available for you to watch on HBO Max. It is one of Brian De Palma's earliest movies, not his first movie he directed, but one of his earlier movies. That ostensibly is going to give me a chance to say, get friends in your life who you can ask about, like, different directors in movies and that kind of stuff that can, that really know their stuff. Because in looking at De Palma's filmography, was like, okay, start at Carrie. There's not really anything I've heard of before then. And, kind of go on from there. And you're being very patient, Danae. This is Danae's, how long am I going to have to listen to this face? But what was really cool is I threw that in our Slack chat, and Jonathan was very great to point out, hey, you may want to watch Sisters and Phantom of the Paradise and some of these before Carrie. And so I did. I watched Sisters, and I'm just very thankful to have people who can be like, I actually have done this, and you might really enjoy this. And so it's kind of a shout out to Jonathan and some others on the team who kind of helped me know, what to watch. So I watched Sisters, and it's very Hitchcockian, which is not I've talked about before not watching De Palma because I've heard he just kind of rips off Hitchcock. There's a difference between paying homage and ripping off, and I feel like, or being influenced by. And I just feel like De Palma was very influenced by Hitchcock, and so his movies are going to feel that way. Mm-hmm. The opening scene to Sisters is great. Like, it's just, it's really incredible suspense, great work. I think De Palma is, doing stuff here that will come to define kind of his career, as far as I understand, with, some of the ways he's using even media in that opening scene, some of the ways that he's using his cuts, his framing, all that kind of stuff. Anyhow, I really enjoyed it, and it is on HBO Max. You are watching an old movie, and you're watching an auteur do some early work, so it's not going to feel like everything else you watch, but it is, I think, definitely worth a watch. And I'm glad you digged it, because I even suggested you might want to start with a later one, but I'm glad you did. But I know you're a chronological guy, so am I, so that makes perfect sense. But no, it's really good. And you see, like, when you watch his later movies, you see a lot of that, what that turns into. Mm-hmm. Because the camera angles and stuff. Hitchcock's a huge influence on him, and it's probably a big reason I like him. But now, he's an influence on other filmmakers. I mean, people use, especially his split screen work and stuff. Like, people that's
use
the
that
other
all
thing.
the
Just
time.
watching, definitely. He loves doing that split screen thing. So
he does. Sometimes it's kind of annoying, but for a lot of the times it's really cool. It's like, we don't have to always have split screen, De Palma. Like, you could just do a shot and then go to that shot.
Yeah, that's right. That's all for my Beyond the Sins. Don't be afraid to expand your horizons on the filmmakers you watch, and pay attention to those who, find somebody who knows something about it and ask them, because they'll help you along. So there you go. Jonathan, what do you got?
Oddly enough, it is De Palma centric, although it is a podcast. I don't know if you've been able to take a drink for this in a while, but I'm going to mention Turner Classic. And nice. They have a podcast called The Plot Thickens. Season 1 was, I think, last year, and they did a whole thing on Peter Bogdanovich and his career. Season 2 that just started, there might be a 4th episode by the time this actually airs, but there's 3 episodes as of when we're recording. And it is actually about, there was a book written by Julie Salomon around the time that De Palma was making The Bonfire of the Vanities. He gave her all this access to the movie, and she wrote this book about the making of it. And it ended up being like they were going in making this. The Bonfire of the Vanities written by Tom Wolfe, I believe that's right, at the time was one of the most popular books like ever. Like it was just a huge book. Everybody was reading it. And so they were making this movie, and it was De Palma coming off The Untouchables and like Casualties of War. They got Bruce Willis, they got Tom Hanks, they got, Melanie Griffith, and they're going to, and it is terrible. Like it is one of the worst studio films ever made. Like it is unbelievable how terrible this movie is.
Nice.
And you have all these really talented people involved. And so this podcast is kind of going back based on what she wrote and pulling interviews and stuff like that from the time and just going through the making of this movie. And for me, like, I don't want movies to be terrible, but when they become terrible, I am always like, it is interesting sometimes to hear about like what went wrong.
Right. Like behind the scenes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's some really interesting stuff that Melanie Griffith has to say about just being on set and just being like, what are we doing? Like it was just one of those, and it's just like, and it's just crazy. But so anyway, so that's the podcast is called The Plot Thickens. I believe it's available on Odd Podcast things. And like I said, season 2, they just started it. This is about the Bonfire of the Vanities, which is what I'm recommending. If you do like that though, the Peter Bogdanovich stuff was really interesting too. But being a huge De Palma fan and really hating this movie, this just is something that was really exciting for me to get to listen to. So, yes, I would check it out.
Danae, what do you got?
Let's talk about something exciting.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. You guys are talking about exciting things for other people. That's fine. It's not just me.
How do you know? You don't know what we were talking about.
I thought you were going to say, how do you know? You don't listen to the show.
Well, that is basically what I was saying. You weren't paying attention to what we were talking about. So
okay, so I picked up a game called Collection. This is again an Android game, but it looked interesting, and it's a escape room game. But they have multiple ways that you can start playing. There's kite, camping, play, party, moon, and beaver house. So it's very cute and kidsy looking, but it is deceptively difficult, which I know many of you will enjoy. I, unlike Aaron, do not mind using hints because I don't give a fuck. But I get stuck at certain points. I want to press on, and I'm like, am I on the right track here? And sometimes I'll ask for a hint, and it'll say things like that I already know, and so I know I just need to work at the puzzle a little longer. But the cool thing is I've completed the camping. I'm working on kite right now, and I have play, party, moon, and beaver house to complete, which I plan to do. And now that I kind of understand the style of how the game developer is thinking about their clues, I feel like I might not need to have as many hints. There was one that I didn't do a hint for like quite a while, and then I ended up actually caving, and I was just kicking myself because it was incredibly obvious. I was looking at there was kites in the foreground and there were bushes in the background, and I was looking at the kites and not the bushes. How could I have
you couldn't see the
missed
kite through the bushes?
You couldn't
for the
see the
trees
forest of
or
kites
something.
for the bush trees.
But it's really cute and simple, and something that is really, really safe to play. And it's called, again, Collection. Escape Game Collection specifically. When I open the app, it says Escape Game Collection, and then when it's just on your home screen, it just says Collection. So
okay,
and you started playing this because you were leading up to you going to the theater this weekend and seeing Escape Room 2 Tournament of Champions, right?
Yeah. Well, you guys know I'm a huge horror fan, so
yes, yeah,
I'll be first in line.
There's one thing we know about you. It's how much you love horror movies,
and I love sitting on the front row on the far left. It's my favorite part in the theater.
I don't usually have the genre discussions because I don't care, but I am like, is Escape Room a horror movie franchise? I guess it is.
Maybe it's like more suspense.
It's horror light. Maybe if you wanted to do genre.
Well,
stuff,
I guess it's like PG Saw.
PG
although
horror.
It's not PG, but it's like PG-13 Saw.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's a great genre. PG-13
which is also
Saw.
Home Alone. So
horror.
Horror. Not horror.
Horror.
Not horror movies. Today loves horror movies.
Especially when they have mirrors.
Mirrors. Horror mirrors.
Horror mirrors.
Horror mirror.
I am going to check out Escape Room 2, though. I'm curious. I enjoyed the first one.
I'm going when we're done here.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. If you've got anything you want to send us, you can mail it to us. P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri 65738. Hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, Daniel Cardoso, a medicine cabinet that still exists, and myself, we will see you next week.
Happy National Hammock Day!
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
Had to get my backup Dr. Pepper.
I'm just glad you're alive.
What are you talking about?
You never leave a room saying, I'll be right back. You know this.
Oh.
Of anyone on the team, you should know this.
Yeah, but I don't drink. And,
no, that's true. You're not out carousing.
I mean, I've been married for 15 years, so I don't have sex. And, I'm kidding, obviously. I'm glad I said that when you were drinking, though. That was perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm 45. I don't know why a killer would be interested in me.
It's a good point. It's always the young. They always come for the young. There has to be a movie, right? Like where the, killer or whatever is searching for older people, right? Like that it's always.
Yeah. Has that not been made?
I mean, I think of like Relic, right? Like Relic last, but that's,
that's, I haven't seen that.
That's specifically about dementia. So that makes sense.
But like a full-on like slasher film,
right?
That would be interesting. Yeah. Like it's like a slasher film, like in a senior city, like in a retirement neighborhood or something. Yeah. I don't know. It was odd. Hold on one second. Dog's barking.
Bark, 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 bark.
What?
I like how we talk to our pets and expect them to reply in English.
All right. Well, let's connect with the guys. And yes, I'm using a Southern accent. There's a reason for that. I've been role-playing quite a bit in the last 12 hours, and it's just stuck in my head. And this is a very Danae version of a Southern accent, as I do not have one naturally, and I have to just let whatever come out. I'm not practiced at it.
That's like my heart stopping is the same thing, right? Like it's not based on any of my health choices or anything. It's just something that was always there and
I mean, happened. Maybe it happens quicker if you're doing, but maybe. I don't know. But like you said, it's not health related. So it is, but it's not like if I drank more, I'd be more at risk.
Right. Yeah.
Probably irritated you that you weren't drinking and drugging it up. Because you could have. It would have been the same.
If I'd have known I was gonna be dead at 43 or 42 or however old I was, man, the choices I would have made. That's not true, though. That is not true.
Here's what I'm doing right now. It's a little hot.
I think this will be fine.
Okay.
I think if you want to back it down another skosh, you can. Lower is always better than higher because we can raise. Because what higher does is it clips off the actual audio. Yeah, that's going to be beautiful. And then you can. I like the levels. Let me show you mine.
With the fur.
Yes, do it.
Oh shit! Why now? Why did that come into my head right now? Why is this happening?
I thought you were playing off my show you my levels boots with the
boots
fur.
with the fur. Man, we sing
all
that.
My
wife
time.
and I sing that all the time.
Why
I love it. I've got my boys doing it now too. Like somebody will say something like just in that rhythm, and they'll go in the boots with the fur, and we just all crack.
Oh yeah,
we just all crack up.
We do. It embarrasses our daughter like when we're out in public and stuff. So that's why we do it because that's fun.
Yeah.
She's at that point, Mackenzie's at that point where it's like, I don't want people to know that I have parents.
That's right.
Oh.
And unfortunately for her, she has parents that will way into that and,
girl.
just have some fun with it.
Poor girl.
We're not that bad.
You say as you laugh evilly.
My oldest son, we specifically wanted to have a child before the turn of the millennia. So Austin was born in 1999. And we wanted to give him the greatest chance to live in 3 different centuries and 2 different millennia. But yeah. So, but I think of that, and I'm like,
thinking that hard about having a child. Imagine planning to think, and you wonder why he's getting married on the day he's getting married.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
How old were you when you got married then, if you don't mind me asking?
I had just turned 20 when we got married, and I don't mind at all you asking. And I'm super thrilled that we got married young.
Yeah, my ex, well, it did. I mean, it works for, I'm glad
I know
it
it's
worked
different
for
for
you guys.
everybody.
It did not work for me.
I know it's different for everybody. But I love
my
that.
That was
brother.
not my fault. Well, and I'll be honest. I'm not saying I didn't have any fault in there, but I was definitely a lot less than.
Of course you didn't, Jonathan.
Than her.
Jonathan, no.
No fault. No fault from Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Yeah, I love the fact that we had a solid 4 years of time to get to know married life together, all that kind of stuff before we started having kids, and that we'll still be fairly young empty nesters. That's just that's really exciting to me.
I think that there's pros and cons to both, right? I mean, I like the fact that we waited a while just because like we had money when we had a child, so that was nice.
Totally. We did not. It's a beautiful bedroom setup, you got it all going on.
This is my girlfriend's office, actually.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's like is that like a futon?
Yeah, a daybed.
Yeah.
We are going into it. Can you show us the bathroom?
We've already got the cameras there, so we don't need that.
We established that yesterday.
Oh, that's just Ian.
yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, that was a benefit for Ian that Jeremy gave out.
Do you mind that we share your full name? Is that I wanted to make sure you're comfortable with that as we kind of talk publicly about you.
God,
I think it's fine.
Okay, full name out
good.
There.
What did you say, Jonathan?
No, I just realized I'm the only one that ever has my full name out there. Like you and Danae always just do Aaron, Danae, Dicer, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm the pretentious. I should put my middle name in there too.
You should, yeah.
Like Jonathan Edward
Mr.
Watkins.
Add Mr.
That's right.
And I'll just I'll put the first because not that there's a second or third.
Correct. Mr. Jonathan Edward Watkins the first. Daniel, we've got 7 minutes until we are scheduled to go live.
So say some funny stuff for outtakes.
No.
Go.
No pressure.
Yes, Daniel, say something funny now.
Now.
I listened to an episode, a couple episodes.
Okay.
Like this past week, so.
Great.
We talk about our kids. And,
we make sure everybody knows how old we are. We are ancient human beings.
Weird phobias. We talk about growths on our feet.
Boots with the fur. Yeah, all that stuff.
Oh, my daughter's heard some my daughter walked in one time.
Yes.
As I don't even remember what it was, but it was awful. Whatever
you were saying
it was.
something like butt sex.
Yeah,
it was so.
It was not, and all of a sudden the door opens, and here comes my little girl. Like, Daddy, can you open these chips for me? Or whatever,
It was the worst and the best at the same time.
Oh, it was awesome. It was great.
Sorry, honey. I'll get to the chips after I finish my thoughts on anal. Okay. What is our job?
What is our job?
I was just gonna say that I noticed in the rundown that on Space Jam I was designated was it like NW2?
Yes.
And I was like this is my 00 status. It's like my license to sin.
License to sin.
Nice.
NW02.
New writer too. Yeah.
Your weapons are actually already with you in your room, and then there's like a little self-destructing note and everything. You have to find it. I'm not going to tell you where it is. So for the podcast listeners, Daniel is now destroying the daybed looking for a weapon.
Yes.
I think that's weird too, and I will tell you, my Beyond the Sins I already had planned before you asked about De Palma stuff earlier this week.
Oh, are we doing like an all De Palma behind the sins?
It might be. I don't know. Well, I don't. If Danae comes out with like, I just watched Snake Eyes.
Isn't it? What's he building in there?
What's he
no. That's
building in
then it
there?
goes into got a secret. Got a secret. Is that the right one?
Pay
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
I think you've got it. I think you've got it.
Was that it?
I think you've listened to the podcast. I think that's amazing.
Guys, I have listened.
Although I do have proof that you don't always listen to the outtakes.
No, I don't. I literally.
God, I get excited about the
want
outtakes.
to
Sometimes
listen.
I can be on this end. If I'm just like, there's nothing troublesome here, I'm just going to go listen to the outtakes.
I have wanted to listen before it posts, but I have a it's always on my writing day. It's always on my day when I have so much stuff happening that I cannot sit down and listen to the length of our show. And then I oftentimes just feel bad about only listening to the outtakes. But now that you've said that, I wonder what it means.
Who said it meant anything?
So perhaps
Who said it meant anything?
Hey,
I'm trying to think of what he's talking about too.
I feel like maybe a fan should just help me out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something I shouldn't do, right? I should do it myself, but I'm going to say, hey fans, if you know what Aaron's referring to, please DM me on Twitter and tell me so that I know what.
First of all, I'm not referring. Who says I'm referring to anything? Second
Your
of all,
face says it.
Second of all, don't ruin the fun. All right.
What? What?
All right, we're going to take a look at the videos from the week's process of
No,
cinema.
we're not. We're talking about what I'm missing in the outtakes.
It was you said anal once, and then Aaron just filtered it through.
That was on today's episode, though.
Like we'll just be Aaron and I'll be talking about like a movie, and then all of a sudden you'll hear Danae go anal.
Is that right?
For some reason she said
that's
it like
absolutely not
for
what
some
happened.
reason she said it like a robot. I don't know why, but
anal.
Jeez, I'm gonna have to go back so many episodes too because it's been a while.
Anal.
Thanks, Jonathan. Okay.
No, that's just me. That's gonna happen this whole episode.
Good.
Now. You'll be.
Except for during Daniel's part, like please don't troll Daniel with anal references.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah, because we totally haven't talked to him yet. So
not yet.
Who are you talking about? Who's this Daniel
mystery
you
writer.
mentioned?
Make fun of me for mentioning future sins videos. Lawyered.
Lawyered.
Anal.